All right, we are live.
All right, who's gonna make the number joke?
All right.
You already did,
Nice.
bud. You already did. Welcome to Roundabout Cast, episode 69, where I promise you the sexiest podcast we have ever had, or your money back guaranteed.
Ooh,
It's all good, man.
Yeah. How much money are they paying per show?
$1 an hour.
Just their time, roughly two and a half to 3 hours.
I don't think we can afford to reimburse them their time, Willard. If I'm talking honestly,
We pay them like sweatshop wages. It's fine. We can.
Well, we're in the world where it's that, oh god, what's the name of that singer that was in the movie? Anyways, there's like clocks on their arms. You could register time with each other.
oh, Justin Timberlake movie.
Yeah, Justin Timberlake movie. I think it's called Time, actually. Yeah.
Is it called Out of Time?
No, I think it's just called Time.
Oh, it's Justin Timberlake and Mila Kunis.
Oh, it is. You're right. It's called In Time. That's what it's called.
In time, out time. What's the difference?
Between Time. Read Between the Times.
A Wrinkle in Time.
Yeah.
Movies that have time in it. Go.
In Time.
Time to Die. That's a James Bond, right?
No Time
Yeah,
to
but
Die.
you can't call it that anymore, I thought.
What?
No, that's Live, Die, Repeat, Tyler.
Okay.
Land Before Time, of course.
There you go.
Back to the Future, but it doesn't have time in the title.
No.
No.
Okay. Time Police. Wasn't that a thing?
No, I think you're thinking Time Cop, which is a fake movie from South Park.
Jesus. Well, nice. We did the post-podcast random section at the beginning this time.
Just copy it.
Joe, why don't you tell us about Arkham Horror?
All right. Here's where I go off for about 20 minutes to try to convince Briley to play a board game.
Whoa,
Let's go.
20 minutes.
Yeah.
All right.
I put it in
Wrap
there.
in.
Not free talk. It was right there next to the discussion page. So I got into a game called Arkham Horror, the living card game. It's by Fantasy Flight Games, which is my favorite board game studio, workshop, whatever you want to call
Which,
them.
side note, we played a game by them yesterday, and it was very fun. I won a 1v5. I never win board games with these psychopaths, so it felt really good.
Yeah, it came down to the last card too.
Literally,
which,
the last two dice rolls decided everything. It was great.
Yeah. It honestly, that's all of their games. It's like it comes down to the wire, which I really, really love. But anyways, so Arkham Horror, the living card game, is God, how do I even describe this? It's a living card game. It's very much like Marvel Champions, where like you have a bunch of different like heroes or investigators that you use to cooperatively overcome a scenario. The difference between this and Marvel Champions is that Marvel Champions is like a movie and Arkham Horror is like a TV show. And it's all based around Lovecraftian kind of works. So it's very much inspired by his kind of things. And the great thing about this game is that it really instills that feeling of like where you want from Lovecraft, which is that fear of the unknown and not understanding what's going on. And just comprehending what's put forth before you. And it's been so good. Like I started a campaign with a friend of ours named Kelsey. We were going to finish it, but she's been hella busy. We're like 3 sessions away from finishing it. And then I did one with our friend Trevor. We finished our campaign earlier this Sunday, and we had a blast of playing it. And so really what the game is like is that you and your co-investigator are moving to these different locations, are laid out on the board, and you are trying to advance this deck of cards called the Act Deck. And the Act Deck has things like you need to gather 6 clues, you need to go to this location. And you have to get that finished before the agenda deck runs out, which is the bad guy deck. And that is constantly ticking up every turn. And every time it hits a milestone, it's going to do something really bad to you. And that can range from basically everyone is loses a resource, everyone is now has to draw like their weakness, or like, a big monster shows up. It's whatever. So, and what's crazy is that like every scenario of Arkham is just completely different from each other. It's just crazy that they use the same components basically in every single game, but they use it in such different creative ways that, like, for example, me and Kelsey were playing a game, and the first scenario we played that game, that day was we had to break into a museum, steal the Necronomicon, and get out while being stalked by this big monster. This next game we played was a train. We were in a train, and we had to run away from one end of the train to the other end of the train while the back end of the train was getting sucked up into this big vortex behind us. And the thing is, when you start each scenario, you're not, like, sure of what you're supposed to do. And I think that's what the brilliance of Arkham is that it takes that idea of fear of the unknown, of fear of, like, what's not in front of you, and it really builds that into the mechanics, because it gives you a list of, like, how each of these scenarios should be set up, and then the only clues of what you're supposed to go from here are these two decks. The agenda deck, which tells you what the bad guys are doing, and the act deck, which is telling you what you should do. Now, sometimes it's very clear. Like, it's like, investigate the town and talk to all the cultists. It's like, okay. Sometimes the act deck just has one word, and that word is run. And you don't know what you're running from until you just get halfway through it. So, like, that to me is, like, one of the ways that they kind of get the unknown. But the other way they do the unknown is they have this bag called the Chaos Bag. And so in our game last night, Willer, we had to put those deck of cards in, and then we had to count up to make sure we meet a skill check to, like, overcome challenges.
Yeah.
That's the same kind of thing in Arkham Horror, but you as an investigator have different stats, and you can get items that upgrade your stats. It's very much like an RPG game. And when you reach into this bag of, like, 15, like, different tokens that have subtractions or additions to them, mainly subtractions. And the thing is, like, they range from, like, a +1, a 0, -1 to a -5 to 4 other icons, which have various effects depending on the scenario you're in, and then an automatic fail icon. And so you can get yourself into the best circumstance of passing the test you're doing. But here's the thing, you have that 1 in 15 chance of just drawing the automatic fail token, and it just and you just lose. And it's, like, so heartbreaking, but, like, it also makes these really big moments of just like, oh my god, that one thing was going to save us, and now we're just screwed. And you are always in fear of just drawing that token because you can't see through the bag, and you just have this deep personal connection of, like, reaching into the bag of, like, whatever I draw out here, it's completely my fault. Like, compared to rolling a die where you just roll it and you see what happens, this is like I am making a conscious selection of which token I'm grabbing out of here and pulling it out, and you just feel so much weight on you as you're trying to find the right thing in that token. And it's just been brilliant. And Trevor and I finished Path of Carcosa, and, like, I don't know what the fuck they were smoking over there, but it was some good shit. Like, I was literally going insane by the end of that entire campaign.
You said that the way they make you set up the board game is deliberately annoying and confusing, so you don't know what's going on and you start disoriented.
Yeah, so for that campaign was based around Harold Chambers, the King in Yellow. So the theme around the entire campaign was madness and going mad, and really kind of, like, questioning your own sanity. And the way they did that was that, like, a lot of, like, as you went through the campaign, each scenario, like, would tell you things in order and out of order. So you would have to read the scenario setup multiple times to make sure you got everything put together properly. And they do it in such a way that, like, at the end they double check, like, make sure you have all these things set out. And then you're like, what the fuck are you talking about? And so you're going back and forth, and you're just like, what is happening? And so by the time you've set the game up, you're very disoriented in what you're supposed to do. But it's great because if everything was laid out correctly to what you needed to be seen, you would have really immediately realized, like, oh, this is what we needed to do. Like, we really felt that near the end of that campaign where, like, we got to one scenario where it was asking us to make 2 piles, shuffle each pile in front of each player, select the pile on the left, put that pile to the side, take the pile you didn't select and put that into the deck, and put the pile you put to the side back into the box. And it's just like, what the hell is going on? It was so memorable because it just created this, like, very narrative arc of, like, Trevor and I actually felt like we were going insane by the end of this campaign. And it felt very immersive in what we were doing, and it just felt very creepy. The other thing I didn't mention is that this game is very much like a choose-your-own-adventure novel, where you come to certain points of the game where you're just like, we have to choose option A or option B, and that's going to determine how the rest of the scenario is going to turn out or how the rest of the campaign is going to turn out. So it's a very much like a story focused game, but it has a lot of like technical aspects to it too, because you build your deck and then you have upgrade paths for your deck. You gain experience from the end of every scenario, and you use that to purchase new cards to add into your deck and replace old cards. So it's like crazy good, because it takes a lot of what I hate about games like these, which is like carrying over things, but they somehow make it in a way like legacy games like Gloomhaven, but they make it in a way that A, you can reset everything really quickly, and B, if you play a scenario twice, you're not guaranteed to get the same exact outcome as you did the first time around. And like each scenario usually has like 3 or 4 different resolutions to it. It's been a great lot of fun, and each scenario is only like 30 to 45 minutes, so we knocked them out pretty quickly, except for the last scenario where Trevor and I were just sitting there for like 20-minute a turn just to figure out what the fuck we were doing, because we were going to lose if we didn't, and we still lost. It was very sad.
Rough.
But it's a great game. I really been enjoying this game.
It sounds like a lot of the draw is kind of like that fucking haunted house mini game, where when you sit down to play this, it's going to be different than the last 20 times you played it. But it sounds like this is even more like, that's more of a party game variant of that. This is like, I want to get immersed, or I want to get into it, I want to strategize, I want to get scared.
Yeah, and it's great because like you can really connect to your characters, and you feel very much more personal and involved in the story that's being told. Like at one point in the campaign, Trevor and I met up with this psychotic guy, and he told us about what was happening. We had to make a decision whether to take his warning or to not take his warning. And we were like, all right, fine, we'll heed his warning. So then for the rest of the game, if we ever spoke the bad guy's name, we immediately took a point of damage, regardless of what we were doing at the time. So if we were setting up the game and we said that person's name, we'd start the next scenario off with a point of damage on us. So, and then that name is riddled everywhere, so you have to be real careful about what you're reading. But yeah, it was great. I'm going to do more of them. I'll have to figure out how to rope some other people in. But for 1 to 4 players, I feel like 2 to 3 is like the real, like, good point for that game. Yeah. But yeah, I really, really enjoyed it. Bradley, I think if you and I have our own sessions, I think you would also enjoy it, because I could really help you with the deck building guidance. But like, the writing in this game, which is a shocker, is pretty good. Like, you're like, okay, what the hell is going on? And you really get into it, and I really, really enjoyed that.
I'm down to mix a session. Within like our usual rotation of board games we play every time we get together.
Yeah, there are one-off sessions, so I definitely can fit one in.
Oh yeah,
do a one-off session.
How long is a session?
Like 30, 45 minutes.
They're like 30 to 45 minutes, and it really is about like how. Yeah, so like
that's kind of crazy, because every board game is either like 1.5 hours to 2 hours or 4 plus. Like there's very little in between.
Well, so like Trevor and I played Sunday, and we went from 12 to 7, but like a good portion of those hours were us deck constructing and being like, all right, how are we going to build our decks for the next scenario, as well as just like that last scenario was just so long. But like we did 2 scenarios, and it was like we started at 12, and we were like, oh, it's like 3 o'clock, and that's with deck building and getting things set up, because we had to reconstruct the decks and everything.
Did you say 12 to 7? Did you reduce a 7-hour play session into 30 minutes? Wait, I don't understand.
Like, so what happens between sessions is that you get a set of XP, and then you have to go through the cards that you have and then build your deck again.
Okay.
So that's a process of like getting the cards back out, seeing what you can buy, buying the cards, just having a discussion, putting everything back away, and then like putting the next scenario out.
These seems like things Tyler would like as well, but
yeah,
as we know, if Tyler doesn't recommend the board game, it's a no-go.
I don't think I've ever recommended any board games to anyone. I think I've only ever really enjoyed board games recommended to me.
Where did Seven Wonders come from? Because that's like
Austin.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, it's your identity now.
It's yours now.
I just bought the wooden inserts. That's it.
They're quite
and
nice.
The expansions. All the expansions.
You drank. He drank the Kool-Aid big on the Seven Wonders.
Stop! Y'all are embarrassing me.
Anyways, I think it's really great. But it is one of those things where like I think the big hindrance is that like we can do a session, like a one-off session, and be like that was really cool, but you really don't get the full like view of the game unless you do that campaign sort of thing. And it's which is really sad because it doesn't mean I can just bring it over to someone's house and be like, we're gonna do this for like an hour. How did you feel about it? It's like we set aside the next 3 weeks because this is what we're gonna be doing for all of those. But yeah, that's all I got there.
When I was like, hey, how's the schedule look? You should have said that, hey, don't put this on Quick Talk.
I did. It was literally right there, Willard.
No, you should have said with your words. When I just asked before we started. I don't mind. I just wouldn't have picked you first. Tyler, why don't you do your section of assortments of anime and cute games?
Yeah.
So, Overlord 4 has started. It's a blessing, as we all know it to be. It's been really good so far this season. I think... I don't know where it's actually going to go, to be honest. Like, because I've never read the short novels. But yeah, it's 5 episodes in. They start off on a not, hey, what happened last season episode? So, you know, it's already a banger.
They get the plot going right off the bat.
Yep, if you didn't rewatch, fuck you.
Good.
Yeah, as it should be.
Fuck them kids.
Black Clover hiatus ended with a huge cliffhanger.
Which, I didn't know Black Clover was on hiatus. Tyler told me it was on hiatus for 3 months.
Took a 3-month break, not
It was
hiatus.
3 months?
God damn.
Holy shit, I thought it was just a month like One Piece. Okay.
Nope. They took some time, you know. They get some breaks.
Good. You know what? I bet if that guy takes some time and focuses, he can make something pretty decent.
I think they took a break because we're getting into the last arc of the manga. I think
we need to regularize more breaks before the finale, because the My Hero guy could have used one, which I'll talk about in a second.
Wait, is My Hero over?
It's on its last arc.
Ooh.
How many chapters do you have left? Do you know?
Well, I don't know. I'm caught up though.
Is it any good?
I'll get to it.
Okay.
All right.
So let's see. It's first chapter in. It's like, oh, we had that huge cliffhanger. They addressed the cliffhanger, and they're like, oh yeah, this person's missing. I don't know. And then right at the end of the chapter, that person shows back up, and you're like, wait, no, they're not supposed to be there. And it's like, what the fuck is going on? It's good. It's good. Nice. Already, like, ended on a banger, coming back with a banger. And then I started playing Slime Rancher, I think because it was, like, free? No, it was not free. I got really drunk one night and said, fuck it, it's $4 right now. And me and Austin were sitting on the couch, and then he was like, man, I could watch some Slime Rancher. I said, fuck you, I'll play Slime Rancher. So I've never played Slime Rancher before. I've had a very frustrating experience with it, I think. Have any of y'all played Slime Rancher?
No, but I applied to work for them. So one day I would have done research. This was in the past.
That's on my list of games I should play, but like
it looks really fun.
I would say this is a Joe game.
Yeah.
Followed by Bradley.
Let's go.
I would never recommend this game to Willer.
Whoa, okay. Even though I have the widest taste in video games among all of us, sure.
I could see you definitely playing it, sure, but I just, like, if you ever asked me, Tyler, would you recommend me a game? I would not say Slime Rancher.
Sure. I mean, yeah.
But it's fun. It's got exploration. You know, it's got slime management. It's a couch sitting game where Austin sits on the couch and he comments on it because he's beaten it before as I play it. And I'm just
nice.
Every time he made a funny note the other day where it's like, you know, a lot of people every time they see something new in a game or experience something new, they don't do a heavy sigh.
That's what you're doing? You're running into mechanics?
Yeah, every time I experience a new mechanic or like a new area to explore, which would like have new resources and new things together, I go,
oh, I forgot about a topic that we need to talk about today, in which Joe could maybe attest that maybe he's seen some of that.
Oh, yeah.
You may not be alone in this, Tyler.
Yeah.
That being said, it's a nice change of pace for me. It's something I normally wouldn't play, which probably leans into a little bit of my frustration. I would say it's not unique game design / unique-ish game design mixed in with some very not obvious things. Like, it feels like a high-res version of a Nintendo 64 game, like design-wise.
Yeah, I'm sure it has like a nostalgic feel. It feels like it would be a GameCube game to me, from what I know about it.
GameCube. That's more accurate. So, it's not bad. I do feel motivated to go back and play it. So
Hey,
that's my
good.
that's my Tyler stamp of approval.
Not bad.
Yeah.
Lastly, you know what? I'll mention this before we go into our first topic.
I gotta do my quickies.
I know, so I mentioned it. I'll mention it before we go into our first topic.
Look, man, Joe had a topic too. You can't. But yeah, what is it?
I said I'll mention it before we go into our first topic.
I understand what you're saying now. I'm so sorry. Please forgive me. All right. Okay, so I've been reading a lot of manga, and I've been watching a lot of stuff on the background, but let me do a quick catch-up. I don't want to ramble too much. I know how I can get on the shows that I talked about last podcast, which was The Boys and Stranger Things. Both shows were about to wrap up their seasons, but they each had a couple episodes left. So, I'll start with Stranger Things. Tyler, you also watched Stranger Things the whole season.
Yeah, boy.
How did you feel about the ending and the season in general? Because I think we were talking about it, and we both kind of had the sentiment that people are kind of tripping when they say like this is one of the better seasons. Because I don't think it is.
Here's what I'll say. This season was really good. This season is also the worst season of Stranger Things.
Yeah, no, because Stranger Things is a good show. I think people clown on it too much.
It is a really good show.
But I would agree. Like this is a messy season. I think
this season heavily suffers from television show pandemic era. It's very obvious. It feels awkward with these kids being freshmen in high school, which is like if they had not had a pandemic, if we hadn't had a pandemic in the world, the show timeline would have lined up with them being freshmen in high school. Yeah, but we had to skip 2.5 years, and they are now all 18, and so they're all like seniors in high school. Steve is fucking 30.
When you told me that, I did like a spit take. I think you told me that last podcast, actually.
It's fucking mind-blowing.
Oh my god.
But I thought this season was really good. They
Steve
beside a couple of the awkward things, the ABCD plot,
yeah, no, I was gonna say this season suffers more than anything from too many characteritis.
And I honestly think that's that is a result of pandemic, is they couldn't have as many people recording on set each day. They had to stagger the recordings.
Maybe. I guess if I want to stretch it, I would say that they put Hopper in that situation as alone as he was because of things like this, maybe. However, that plotline fucking sucked. That prison plotline in Russia was so bad, and for the first time in all of Stranger Things, they did not connect the plots. They always bring everyone together for the finale in this crazy plot thread where every group is doing something that's contributing to the main goal. While Hopper was just kind of coming back into the story, so the end goal is just to wrap up his side quest so he can join back with the crew, which was weird.
I think this season revealed the worst thing that's happened. This season brought down the entirety of Stranger Things, immensely.
You think
in
so?
a huge way that nobody's really talked about. And as Bradley and Joe plan on watching this, or is it just a you and me thing?
It's a you and me thing, dog.
Okay, so
hold on. Since my name came up, here's the only thing I have to say for this whole segment. My question is, Is Eddie like a fan favorite? Because for the past few weeks, I've not been able to open Instagram without seeing like 5 fucking fan arts of him all over the front page with his long hair and rock star shit.
Eddie's was the main character of this season.
No, hell no. Max.
Absolutely.
Max is
okay,
1,000%.
both of them were.
All right,
both of them were.
I'll give him a nice second though. He's the new character they introduced this season. Him and another character called Argyle, and people really latched onto Eddie, and the plot really does a lot with him in the last few episodes. So there's a lot of lingering stuff because the season just came out with all that.
One seems to love him.
Yes.
Yeah. The coolest thing that happened. So. Let me go back to what I was saying about like the plot and the huge gaping hole.
Yeah.
The Russians in every season have been set up as like an antagonist moving in the background.
I guess.
And this season really threw them under the bus to just be the fodder villain. Like,
yeah, like I never took them that seriously.
I mean, they showed up at the prologue of the last season. They've always had like, maybe I'm thinking of like anime too much and like Dr. Vegapunk of like this just background lingering figure that's always ever present in the show.
Man,
but like,
it's not even close. We've seen so much Russians, we don't even get a crumb from Vegapunk's mouth.
Yeah, so it's yeah.
No, I get you. You know what I think it ruined? Maybe the way that they set up the ending is like, oh, there is no more suburban secret like monster superpower world. Like it's so out in the open now that you know, it's just like, slight spoiler alert, the whole world is going to know about Stranger Things that happen in their world. And I feel like next season might be weird as a result. It's not going to have very much slice of life stuff, which I think the show uses to balance itself out. My last point I wanted to get to also is the Nancy Steve plotline was really bad this season. It kind of went nowhere, and I feel like they're just gonna set up a Nancy as an independent woman with neither of the boys at the end. So it's like I feel like we're just wasting time. Just get there. Also, I mean, come on, like. She didn't get with Steve, but also she didn't break up with Jonathan. So it's like, oh, so we're still stagnant, like.
Yeah, and it's like they were teasing, like, ooh, someone's gonna die, and like, the thing is,
someone did die, and then someone. If that other character died, that would be a really impactful finale. But they're kind of in a coma. So
yeah, here's the thing, okay? They delve so much into developing each character this season, individually or like emotionally. Each character had a single episode or moment in an episode where they could divulge secrets, fears that really brought the audience to care more about this character.
But it's too much. It's a classic like big One Piece arc scenario where it's like you got too many cooks in the kitchen, so not everyone's gonna shine.
But I like that wasn't my complaint. Is like they really like a lot of the time when you feel like a character's gonna die, like they'll really get you attached to them like right before they do, or they'll give you like anything left about their plot that the like audience would want to know, and they did that for every character. Like I'm watching each episode, I'm like, oh, this character's set up to die, and I'm like, oh, this character's set up to die.
They set up death flags for pretty much everyone in like Dustin's group.
And then they did it for the one person that they did not set up anything for. I'm like,
the classic Quicksilver move.
Yes, it's like, what?
Man, if Clint died in Age of Ultron, we'd be in a darker world. That's all I'm saying. Yeah. Anywho, that's Stranger Things. Pretty solid season. The Boys. Tyler, you also watched that as well, right?
No Boys yet. But I was gonna say, I need to say one thing positive about Stranger Things. Something cool they really did this season is they did have a battle moment. And if you go back and rewatch that, each character has kind of like an identifier for a Dungeons and Dragons class to them.
Oh, cool.
Like there's like a ranger, the warrior, the cleric, like there's a bard,
and Nancy with the gun.
The ranger, the gun. Brute. Like they all kind of have like a niche going for them that I find to be very cool.
It's pretty cute. These guys love D&D.
Mm-hmm.
which is also the reason why Joe can never love the show. They're fake fans.
I just honestly, like, I watched second season. I just really was out of it. I don't know. Watching that second season, I just really didn't like. I was just very bored a lot.
A lot of people will say that. I like season 2, so
I just that's how I felt. Like season 1, I thought was really good. Maybe I should give season 3 a try, but season 2, like, it really just honestly bored me to death. Like
season 3 is like maybe my favorite, but that's a hot take.
What happened in season 2?
Season 2 is like Will's back, but he's having like flashbacks to the upside down. Okay. Dustin keeps a pet, like a Demogorgon. There's a bunch of little Demogorgon dogs instead of like a big antagonist in that one. Mm-hmm. Steve gets his redemption arc that season by being
season 2 is still good. You're right,
but it also has the 11 leaves home and hangs out with her sister plotline that they've like all but retconned.
We don't talk about that.
We don't talk about that. The Boys, I was saying, was my favorite season. And while the finale was great and set up like... Oh, okay. While the finale's final scene sets up a very cool next season, I will say the finale's kind of weak. It's good, but, like... There's some contrivance... Like, The Boys is all about contrivances. It has more plot armor than even... Like, Stranger Things has a lot of plot armor, and I would say The Boys has more because this show takes itself so seriously with, like, all these characters are making really smart moves and, like, outsmarting each other. It's like, no, like, Homelander would be canceled multiple times. Butcher's an idiot. Like, there's just a lot of things that could go wrong, but doesn't. But, man, this season leaves off on, like, a fantastic scene. And as with all great scenes and dramas, it is getting memed the fuck out of itself all over the internet.
Oh, dude, I've seen there's that clip of, I think, Homelander like
smiling,
slowly smiling in the crowd, and I'm like,
yeah,
I don't have the context for this, but
Joe asked. Joe was like, "Hey, Willard, I don't know, but like, does Homelander run for president?" What do y'all think is happening in that clip?
The way I read it just from looking at it is like maybe he thought he made a huge PR mistake, but everyone actually liked it, and he's like, "Oh, thank God, this is great."
Bingo, you nailed it. Good.
That was the second thing I thought it was going to be, but like someone I think you said they get real life situations. My brain immediately thought like, Homelander's Donald Trump and he runs for president.
Yes.
Kind of the thing.
Yeah. Well, yes. Okay, Tyler, you step away for 15 seconds. Okay. You're right, Bradley. In that clip, Homelander, someone comes, like a protester throws a can at Homelander's son and he lasers his head off and the crowd goes wild. And he's like, "Oh, I can just be a monster." And it's referring to Donald Trump's, I can go out to New York Central Park and shoot someone, and people will cheer. So that
was a doozy.
Even the episode description is like a Donald Trump line for that episode, so it was very blatant. And then I think right-wing people realize that the show has been kind of poking fun at them for a while, and they're like, "Wait a minute, are we getting made fun of?" And it did not go well. Yeah. But it's setting up really cool stuff. But what I don't like, this season was moving the plot along. I think you guys will remember me saying like, "Oh shit, stuff's happening every episode. Stuff's getting moved along." But it kind of like the main characters make no progress. In fact, they make negative progress. They're way behind now in accomplishing their goals. But the season didn't treat it that way. It's just like when you get the good guy epilogue, it's just like, well, on to the next one, on to the next job. We got more work to do, fellas. It's like, oh, y'all lost so many assets this season that it's ridiculous, and you're like the setup for next season's horrifying. And the show just didn't really establish that very well, I think, for the protagonist side of things. So that was kind of weird. But yeah, I'm looking forward to what because of that, also because we were set so far behind, I'm worried that the show's going to be too many seasons. And that's my main concern. So, but it was still probably the best season. The show keeps getting better. I recommend it. It's got a lot of awooga and cringe moments, but it's also quite good.
What?
Back.
How many seasons do you think they should go?
I think they should do at most 5 seasons. I think 4 would be good, but because of the setup, I don't think that'll work. So,
I was feeling 5 too. I haven't watched the show, but like it,
yeah.
based on what people have said and based on like what you have said, it seems like a 5-season show.
Yeah, I would like it to be a 5-season show. I was talking to our friend Kyle about this. We were like having a discussion of like, oh, how could the show go on from here? And like I have a pretty good idea how they could do it in 5 seasons, but also like I could see them stretching this out, which is really bad, man. Don't ruin it doing that. I like when shows end at the right time. Okay, I got a quick manga wrap up, and I'll try to go quick here. I've been reading a lot of series. We'll start with one that I think Tyler would like. It's called Sakamoto Days. It is on Shonen Jump, so you can read it through the app. Have you ever seen anything about this, Tyler? It's gonna get an anime soon.
It's on my to read list because it's got the guy with the little scanner on the front.
Yeah.
Yeah, so Sakamoto Days is the story of Sakamoto, a legendary assassin who one day quit to start a normal life with his loving wife. And he has a daughter, and...
Hey, I've played this game.
God, it could be any... I think you're referring to Somnium Files, but it could be anything, really.
Yeah, I am, but as soon as I said it, I was like, that's probably a lot of games.
it's kind of loose. But, what Sakamoto... he becomes fat and like looks like just a peaceful attendant of a grocery store, which they have like a grocery store their family runs and owns. So Sakamoto though is still a complete badass. He will destroy you. So what happens is a psychic boy comes find Sakamoto because he has a hit on his head. So they befriend him, and the psychic boy starts working with Sakamoto. So he's like kind of the... Sakamoto ends up being the straight man out of a lot of gags, and the psychic reader, because Sakamoto doesn't speak much, they can communicate with that mental link, and they slowly grow this like found family crew of assassins that try to kill Sakamoto, but then go on to see that he's a great guy and that they can learn a lot from him and better themselves by being part of this family. So the crew grows and grows, and it's really good, man. It has no right being this good. It's funny. It's a little villain of the weeky sometimes, but it also has some really good mini arcs. I think Tyler would like this because Sakamoto is very much a Saitama character, but the difference is, like, Sakamoto will beat anyone. I can't see him losing. He doesn't have superpowers, but he has superpowers. He's indestructible. His greatest feat, it was fucking ridiculous. 2 trains are going across each other, and he jumps from, like, the front of the train, runs through that second train, and then jumps out of that second train before the 2 trains have finished crossing in an incredible spread of pages. Like, the art for the action in this is fucking kind of absurd. It has no right looking as cool as it is. The fights are great as a result. So the comedy's great, fights are great, characters are great. Go on, Joe.
I've read up to, like, the arc where they have the girl, she's like running from the Chinese mafia or something. It's just getting parents. Yeah, like Garen Harren's back. That was when I stopped. It's good so far. It's just like I have to sit down and read it.
Have you gotten to one where they're at the theme park? I think you have. And they have like a fight on a roller coaster. I think that's like when stuff started picking up for me. That's like chapter 11 or so.
Maybe I have seen that. I'll have to double check where I stopped off. But I remember the last time was they were helping out that girl with her inheritance. But it's great. I think it's real funny.
I've seen it described as Jackie Chan meets One Punch Man. It's got that like...
That's a good description.
Like Sakamoto will use everyday things in combat, and it's just like you have... Like he'll catch a bullet with chopsticks kind of thing. Like he's ridiculous.
I'll add it to the list. Oh, speaking of One Punch Man though, we had new chapter this week because he's on a consistent bi-weekly thing.
Yeah. You can do a One Punch Man interruption.
No. Go back to the chopsticks with the catching bullets with chopsticks.
Well, that's all. I'll move on to another series I've been reading, which is called Super Smartphone. This is Jump's current like psychological thriller, mental battle kind of series, and it had a pretty unassuming start. Basically, I think Joe read the first chapter as well. So you might have like some understanding of what the series is, but basically this kid gets like a super smartphone, as it's called, that can Google anything, and it's basically a super hacker in the palm of his hands. And there's like a point system where the phone encourages you to use it, and the more you do with it, the more functionalities you unlock with it. Other people have that phone, and like a cardinal rule is you can't let normal people find out about that phone. And meanwhile, he's trying to find someone who kidnapped his brother. He has like a lead. That lead is like the CEO of a company who's also very intelligent. And in between them is this punk cyber crime detective chick who's super cute. Like she dresses nothing like a cop. She's like a emo punk girl who's like she's an L. She's the L of the series for all intents and purposes from Death Note. And like the series is kind of like, sometimes people make some decisions where a reader might think, oh, that's a bit of a leap in logic, but then they do a really good job at explaining themselves and keeping you hooked. And then, like, there's a chapter where there's this 3-way Discord call where, to communicate with each other, these two super smart phone users are talking in the detective's inbox because they want her to get involved. Whichever one can get her on their side has a huge advantage in the little battle that they're having. And then they start having, like, this 3-way call where they start profiling each other in secrecy while this cybercrime detective is in the middle. And it's really engaging. So that, like, got me pretty hooked into the series. I bet it'll get axed because it's pretty weird. So
shame.
It's a bit of a bummer. But I do like it. And finally, I caught up with My Hero Academia, which I don't know who's eating chips into me, but you gotta stop that.
Oh!
Yeah. Cease. My Hero Academia. What do you guys know about My Hero Academia's like current state? What have you heard anything? Do you know what this final arc is?
I know nothing other than the great art you showed from recent chapters.
Yeah, there's some crazy art.
I know nothing except like I only know what the anime is up to.
Okay, Joe, do you know anything? You got a whiff of anything happening in My Hero?
No, not at all.
So, I don't know how much y'all want me to say, but My Hero's on its final arc. It is basically a huge war arc, which is common for shonen. And, oh man, it's tough. I think people are too hard on My Hero, is my thesis statement here, but it has some problems. I think, you know how people will weekly read stuff that they just don't really enjoy when it's like, oh, if you caught up like I did, you would have enjoyed it more because you would have been less critical, you would have been less nitpicky, you would have had, like, you wouldn't have to sink in with a chapter that was bad because you can just flip to the next one. I think people really underestimate how much a weekly experience can ruin something like that, and I think that's happening with My Hero Hardcore. Now, it does have a problem where it's like I've mentioned before that My Hero's at its best when it's not focusing on the main characters, and I feel like that's still true. There's this stretch of chapters. Oh, I should have posted pictures of her. There is a female All Might who is called Stars and Stripes. She is the #1 hero of America. And essentially, Shigaraki the Handboy has risen to become a power like god. Like, I think the power scaling of the series is completely fucked because the main villain is so overpowered. And he has like this one-on-one with Stars and Stripes. She's just introduced. She's this total badass. They fight in the air as he's riding like those Nomu creatures, and she's riding on top of 5 air jets that are her usual squad. That she will always be riding them, and they have like they're buds, so she knows how to fight in the air with them. And her power is basically to touch something and give it a command. So she can touch water and say water is not wet, and then water ceases to be wet. Or she can,
Baba is you.
She has Baba is you powers. And like, she's introduced, the fan base goes crazy, she looks fucking dope, and then Shigaraki kills her. And then it's like, oh, like, this author hates female characters. It truly is the successor to Naruto in almost every single way. But there's some really great stuff there. Like, they built this entire floating coffin to fight the final villain, and they do it a little fast, but it's like a cool way where, like, in this final war arc, all the combat heroes are fighting all the combat villains, and they manage to separate everyone so they can fight like in small squads against small squads instead of doing one big clusterfuck, which I think is really smart, both probably in strategy but also as a viewer experience. And they pretty much solo the main villain in his own little zone, and it's basically built for it to kill him. And then like through a series of like support quirks that are like powering this facility, and like other support quirks that are negating his abilities, you think that they would have a good lock on him, but it's like they use a power that can stop his quirk, but then he just mutates like he's Akira from the movie Akira, where you can just mutate his body. And he's like, oh, this isn't a quirk, this is just how my body is because of my quirks. It's like, this is a stretch.
That's a little bullshit.
Like, and when I say he's mutating his body, Bradley, he's creating like multiple blocks of flesh. Like he's just turning his arm into like Luffy Bajong gun sized fists, and it's insane. It's like, oh, it's not a quirk though. And I'm like,
I'm not using my quirk. I'm just using the ability my quirk gave me to fight.
Well, I have a question for you. Mm-hmm. If this was the Worm universe,
yeah,
could people with powers alter people without powers and have them survive in fucked up ways?
I mean, Bonesaw exists, so yeah.
Yeah. So, could it pass? I mean, maybe the explanation's wrong, but could it have been explained better?
Now,
Like,
that being said, a lot of the stuff that Bonesaw and even other Tinkers do, despite her working with people instead of electronics, I think it said that a lot of Tinker devices, including what Bonesaw does, doesn't work because the technology would actually work. It's just that their power makes the ray gun shoot lasers.
With this, it's described that, like, because the quirk mutated my body, I can do this with my quirks being suppressed. So it's like, you know how My Hero has that guy whose head is a bird head? He's like a falcon dude.
Yeah.
I guess if he was getting neutralized, he wouldn't turn back into a human because his body's mutated. But the problem is Shigaraki is creating tons and tons and tons of flesh. That's not... You can't make that leap that my body just naturally creates 5,000 tons of flesh. I'm sorry. Like, that's a lot. So there's little annoyances like that, and like, the character of Toga is Harley Quinn in every way, where she can overpower and out-trick people with super strength. Even like she's just flexible and can transform into people, but she's like beating and speed blitzing. Like, she basically has powers that are just not in her power set, so she can remain dangerous, and that's a bit iffy as well. So
is Toga the blood one?
Yeah, Toga is the horny blood lady who is in love with
so
Deku.
the character that the writer wants to fuck.
No, the character the writer wants to fuck is the bunny woman. Like 1,000, he's gone on record.
Okay.
Yeah. So just keep that in mind.
So the character that if he killed off, people would stop reading his manga?
Well, he mutilated the fuck out of her in the previous arc. Like, the bunny lady, he chopped off one of her legs, like her ear. She just got absolutely fucked by the main antagonist. So, I don't know. He's got a thing for amputees, maybe. That might be where he's going with it. I don't know. But anyways, that's My Hero. I think My Hero's good, actually. I would actually think it's better than most people say. However, it does have flaws.
This last season made me loathe the anime.
What was the arc of the last season, if I may ask?
It was like a competitive training
session.
Oh
my fucking god, that is the worst.
Like the prequel leading up to...
Into the jumping of shark moment where Deku's quirk is 9 quirks in one.
Yeah, so there's that... And then the, like, rebellion is starting or some shit.
That's a good arc. Next season will be good. If you don't like next season, I think you should drop it, because that's kind of the quality of the remainder of the show is probably even below next season's quality.
Man, I don't know. They literally gave us, like, this is a bi-yearly anime, and they gave us an entire season of nearly filler.
Ugh.
Yeah, they have,
That's hard to come back.
You can probably find me talking about this on the podcast somewhere where I talked about that arc when I read it, and I hated it. It was so bad.
I say that's hard to come back from, yeah, but, like, they're gonna get the whole show.
No, here's the thing, though.
In terms of actual quality...
But, Tyler, you have not gotten into Todoroki family drama, which is actually peak My Hero. That's the
Who's Todoroki?
Fire Ice Kid, his dad, and his brothers.
Yeah, they've all made up.
No, but that keeps going. Like, that is peak family drama. Like, that's the best writing, I think, in the show. And One of the panels I posted the other day was like a finisher that Todoroki does to an opponent, and it's gorgeous and very thematic, and it's great.
Did Grenade Boy die? Because I think I saw a page of that.
He's currently getting pretty bodied. Basically, they're like, okay, we need some of the strongest people in Deku to be isolated with the main villain for this final fight. However, the girl with no powers, Toga, manages to displace Midoriya and put him out of the fighting location. So now it's like, oh shit, we have to fight the main villain without Deku here. So Bakugo is just there, like, trying to explode this guy who's producing 500,000 pounds of flesh, and it's just not going well. However, Lemillion gets to do cool things this arc, which is nice.
I was about to say, did Lemillion ever get his powers back?
He just bullied the main villain by saying he has no friends, and it really got to him. So that was
so he gained the power of bullying.
Yeah, bullying is his new power. It's great. He's doing great.
He does have blonde hair and blue eyes, so that kind of lines up.
Wow, so do you. What's up with that?
I'm not denying it. I'm just
All
saying,
right. Thus concludes our quick talk session at 50 minutes. So let's keep
lovely.
You know,
I took a little trip to LA.
I'm having fun. Yeah, you should say your thing.
I went to the Warner Brothers lot, and the cool thing on it is they have a lot of cool stuff. But this one section leads into our next talk. I got to see the Shazam costume as well as the rest of the like DC heroes lineup.
That's cool. Actually, I like Shazam's costume. I like Aquaman's costume if he's wearing the golden one.
It was both.
Not a big fan of the Batman suit, TBH.
They had like 5 Batman suits.
No, sorry, the Batman suit is very hot. The Ben Affleck Batman suit, not so.
Okay, I was about to say, I was like, you're crazy.
they had the Patterson new one.
Nice. Yeah. Oh man.
His co-star, what was her name?
Catwoman. Kravitz.
Ah, Jesus.
Yeah,
Zoe Kravitz.
Yeah.
Zoe Kravitz, like 4'11".
Holy
4'10".
Wow, really?
That costume was hella small. Don't know if that's like to size, but
that's kind of cute.
They had on made it look like it was like a child.
I kind of like tiny Catwoman. I think that's a cute fit. But anywho, I watched Shazam finally because I'm always up to date with these things. Have y'all seen Shazam? The DC movie?
Probably the best DC movie.
I
Really?
Shazam.
All right, that's an opinion. Shazam's all right. It's pretty solid. What did you like about it, Tyler?
It like, I don't know. I can't take most of DC seriously. Especially since they have 2 Suicide Squads where half of it's set in the same universe movie, but half of it isn't.
But you know, one of those is good. Come on.
Yeah.
Sure. Yeah, I did like it, but I don't know. I'll be unbiased. I've never really liked DC growing up. I liked Teen Titans. That was probably the most DC I ever got. I enjoyed Shazam. It was fun, silly. The guy who does the acting
Quinto,
as the
Jack something Quinto was his name.
Yeah, the acting between the kid and the adult versions of Shazam is really good.
I will say the family themes are my favorite part of the movie.
Yeah, and I really like that aspect of it. I really like the it's very One Punch Man-y, where it's like, oh, he's just blessed with all these superpowers, but then they go to the convenience store and he goes, I would like a beer.
Yeah, no, those scenes are cute. I think the action, the stuff with the bad guy. I like the bad guy's backstory a little bit, I guess, but like his powers are lame and like when
who is the bad guy again?
He's like a guy who who he wasn't worthy to obtain the Shazam power when he was a kid. So he lost his parents and like even though he hated his parents, so he became a CEO and researched.
Syndrome?
No, it's just a fucking guy, dude. It's just a guy.
You just described Syndrome.
He has, and then he summons the 7 deadly sins that are just amorphous blob enemies that don't have any personality to them.
Exactly.
Okay, so still Syndrome. Got
it.
I mean, Syndrome is the GOAT, so you watch your fucking mouth. But it's all right. Like, there's a lot of you have super speed moments, so it feels like I'm watching CW The Flash again. And the humor's pretty solid, the action's weak. The story between the main characters is pretty good. I like the adoptive family angle. It's pretty that's pretty cute. So it's
I like the finale of the movie where they all get the powers.
It was I don't know. I couldn't tell if the powers were split or if they all had all 7. It was very unclear to me. Anyways, look forward to the Shazam Force in Justice League 2.
Did you watch the end credits scene?
I don't think so. Oh yeah, it was Superman.
Yeah, Superman shows up right there.
So I mentioned that the Justice League shows up in Peacemaker too, and like Superman doesn't get to talk in that. So it's like, why do they hate Henry Cavill so much? Because they just don't show his face. He has all these faceless cameos.
I don't think they can afford Henry Cavill every time they need him to cameo.
No, dude, he's a huge nerd. He's also a great Superman on paper. It's just that Zack Snyder does not get Superman, I feel. I mean, maybe I don't get Superman, but
I don't think DC. Man, I don't know.
It's not. This is not a DC problem. I think it's a Zack Snyder problem. And like,
it's like so.
Is Zack Snyder DC?
I mean, he's made over half of them now, or like half of the movies.
So maybe it's DC.
No, because I liked one of the Wonder Woman movies, and I liked Aquaman, and I liked Suicide Squad. So when they let the directors do their own thing, but the directors kind of get the characters better, it works. Mm-hmm. So I also like Peacemaker. So there's a lot of good DC stuff. I think people have completely given up on them. I think people should check out some of these other projects. But yeah, they're still playing catch up. Ezra Miller has gone into a full villain arc in real life, so the Flash is just Dunskies.
Yeah.
So that's fun. Batwoman got canceled, so whatever. Joe, you and I played The Quarry with our group of friends, and it was a very fun time. We did this over the course of 3 nights.
I got to witness a real life horror movie event where Wilder, like, there was this moment.
Why do you put this on me? Why do you put this on me?
It's like, Willer, I've never seen a more obvious moment of shoot them in my life. Like, Willer watched somebody transform into a zombie and went, maybe it'll be okay. We don't shoot them. Don't shoot them. I'm like, his flesh just exploded. Like, shoot him.
Tyler.
Willer's like, no, it'll be fine.
Tyler, you don't understand. First of all, I was not on the controller at the time, so if anyone, you can blame someone else.
Also, let's say that didn't happen to the flesh exploding part. This guy fell in a pool and started melting. I'm like, have you never watched Gremlins? Like, you don't put that shit in.
You don't understand, Tyler. The reason why I said don't shoot is because the point of these games... By the way, The Quarry is the sequel to Until Dawn. That has not been mentioned. It's a video game. It's an interactive horror game. Yeah, not the sequel, spiritual successor. The point of these games is you have the teenagers and you have to keep them alive. Like, the end goal is try to get as many of them alive as possible. That's why I thought it would be a good idea to not shoot the guy who turned into a werewolf, because he was one of the crew, even though he was kind of shady.
Yeah, immediately after that, they, like, roundhouse kicked somebody's head off, so Willer failed in that department of keeping people alive.
I want to also point out that same person, they got another person killed, and then Willer got another person killed.
I got 2 people killed.
So because of not shooting that person, 3 more people died?
No. The gun mechanics in that game are kind of messed up.
We still don't know how they work. We failed every gun check in the game.
That's kind of funny.
We also learned that we played the entire game on console without aim assist.
Yeah, so...
Which was crazy.
The game tells you wait till you shoot so they get closer, because all your guns are shotguns. I don't know if that's actually a mechanic, because if you wait... So, like, a monster will be far away, take 1 step, you have half a second, and then they kill you. So it's like something's up. Or maybe like because we didn't have the aim assist, we kept missing the shot. We watched the playback on our final death, and I barely missed the shot because of the no aim assist, and I couldn't tell how the monster would move. And then he decapitated the one character. First of all, I got to play this character 5 times in sections of 3 minutes each, and then I get the most intense section at the end where like so many characters' lives are at stake. And,
Brenda Song.
Yeah, Brenda Song was the character I was playing. She was the actress for her. Caitlin, shout out to my girl. All to say that we failed on Chapter 10 and didn't even get to play the final 2 chapters. So we're trying to schedule a replay. Me and Joe are of the opinion that we should not restart because you cannot skip cutscenes in this, and those early chapters are rough.
Yeah.
So I'm saying let's just skip to one of the later chapters and redo some of our decisions, while some of the other group wants to go further back. So we're trying to decide what to do. All in all, this has a really good couch co-op mode where each person gets to play a character. So I had one character, Trevor had one character, and then the three other people we're playing with, including Joe, had two characters each. So for a total of 8 characters.
It was great because the game like prompts you whenever you're changing over to someone else.
Yeah.
So it really is built for that couch co-op thing. Another feature that's part of the game is that you could just have the game play as a movie and you give directions to every one of the characters.
This is a nutty feature. You can set character personality parameters and then the game will just play itself, which is kind of fun. And you can see how to tweak those parameters to get them out of situations. I recommend it if you have someone in your life that is willing to play a horror game with you. It's probably like a solid 10 to 12 hours of fun. Don't fuck up like we did. Turn on aim assist and have a good time.
Yeah.
If you've ever seen any horror movie ever, you should be good.
Yes.
Yeah. It was very fun. It's very B horror movie, so it's a lot of just poking at itself and.
But you get very attached to the characters because they're all goofy and fun.
Yeah.
Let's do a switch up here. Why don't you tell us about Vagante, Bradley? I think you've never talked about this game before. It's the first time ever.
Oh, yeah, totally. So this is a game where the best way I would describe it, or the shortest way, is it's kind of like you're playing Spelunky, but it's also an RPG where, you pick a class. One thing I always really enjoy about it is kind of I don't know, I like the way it scales. I like that, for the most part, your stats are based on equipment, and it's not like, every time you level up, you get plus 1 to 3 in a number. So that's pretty cool. Like, I know exactly how strong it would be based on what I equip, usually. And, I don't know, there's some cool skill trees, but I think they still need to refine those a little bit, because...
I like the skill trees. They're pretty cute. I wish there was, like, maybe 1 or 2 more per class. That'd be cool.
Yeah. I think my main problem is there are some skill trees where, like, they're just not good until you get the second or third one. Like, for example, I don't know, the stealth mode for the daggers on the rogues doesn't really matter until you get, like, the stuff that comes after it, too. So there's some give and take, but I also love low numbers in games. And this game has low numbers because, I don't know, jumping from 5 damage to 7 damage feels better to me than jumping from 5,000 to 7,000 for some reason, and I don't know why.
Yeah, that's something I appreciate about Paper Mario as well. Low damage games.
This game is also fucking hard.
Yeah.
I've only ever beaten it twice, and I've been playing it with my brother and cousin for years.
Worth noting that me and Tyler played this with Bradley as well, so now we have some experience. And
so what do y'all think about it?
As a big fan of Spelunky, this actually, it's pretty close to Spelunky, but with RPG mechanics. It's not a wrong way to describe it. I think the classes are pretty cute. I like the loot you get. It's again, like a Spelunky, you'll get a thing and it has its functionality. While here you're getting stuff with like stat spreads and stuff. But again, the numbers are small, so everything feels significant. Like the craziest items we were getting were like +3 strength, and we're like, whoa, crazy.
Yeah, if you see anything with like above a 2 or a 3, you're like, holy shit, this is like the fucking item.
I need to find time to play this solo so I can get a little better and appreciate it. I feel like it seems fun solo. But I've only played it co-op with y'all.
It's also gotten a lot more fun since I first discovered it, because when I first discovered it, the Houndmaster and Wildling classes weren't even in it. And I think all of the other classes had like one less branch in their skill tree. And they only, I think, recently ported it to systems like Switch.
Yeah, I think it just came out.
Because I've been playing it for years, and every few months I'll be like, I'm feeling like I want to do a few runs of Vagante, and then, I don't know, I was just like, I wonder if there's any news for it, because every few months they have an update, and I saw it was out on Switch, and I was like, holy shit, maybe this means like they'll pick up the pace a little bit with development too, I hope. So, They've been steadily developing it for years and adding stuff and changing stuff. So
I forgot there's a whole other class we haven't unlocked yet when we were playing co-op.
That one's really new. I think they only added it like this past year, which
no, but they had it back in February when we played.
Yeah, the Houndmaster.
Yeah.
So that one's really cool. I haven't played it enough.
I think my favorite thing about the game is that it's not played, like it didn't get a large player base. It didn't sell a lot. It was really good though.
I've never heard about it till Bradley was like, "Oh, this came out on the Switch," and I looked into it.
Mm-hmm.
But because of that, there's a lot of secrets in the game that you can't Google because the creators didn't put a wiki in, and nobody's like data mined the game because it's just never been big enough that people would care to do it. So like, there's a lot of shit in the game that you just kind of have to fucking figure out, and it's great because like in Spelunky, you know, there's a lot of secrets, but Spelunky is so popular, you know, if you Google anything, they'll be like, you'll get an entire first page of Google results, all of them like having these fake news articles like, here's how to get the vampire snake in Spelunky and go to space and fight the pirates. And it's like, okay, you're gonna have a detailed instruction you ripped off Reddit, cool, but in this game you're like, what does the stats do? And everybody's like, I don't fucking know.
Look, man,
just
because you know what to do in Spelunky doesn't mean you'll ever be able to do it.
Counterpoint, I kind of hate that because I hate it when a game doesn't tell me the numbers or tell me what they're doing. Like I think that's pointless. Like I don't like the discovery of mechanics that are like kind of like that. Like that's not fun because you have no way of like actually like going in and like figuring out what you need to be building if you don't know what each of those do.
As an adult, I agree with Joe. I do not like it because I don't have the time to do it all day. Fair. As a kid, it's very fun to
1000%.
Just play a game.
Think about how many hours of video games you put in high school. Like, how did we find so much time in the day? It's crazy.
I didn't do anything except, you know, extracurriculars and never did any classwork. So.
Oh.
Super easy when you spend your entire day for like 3 years just playing Yu-Gi-Oh! And Pokemon in class.
Oh, I just didn't sleep. That's how I squeezed it in.
Oh yeah, that too. You know,
I did my homework. I was a good kid.
I would do it like 10 minutes before it was due, and then I'd be like, all right, here.
It depended on the year. Senior year, I was checked the fuck out.
High school was easy breezy. High school in America is a joke.
It's actually kind of fucked up how much high school will not set you up for college because you don't have to study for tests. You just have to, like, if you paid attention passively during class, you'll be fine. And then you get to college, it's like, oh, you didn't study? Well, there's this very niche thing in the book that is part of the test now, so get
There's one line at the very end of this one page. Yeah, that's the answer to this question.
And it sucks because it's only the first 2 years of college that they do that shit to you. After that, it's like, oh, you get to do real work. And it's like, oh, okay, so you only get 2 years of like college that actually matter.
Maybe for you. I don't know. Granted, I set up my senior year to be very chill, especially the last semester, but junior year in college was fucking stressful for me. I was swamped with work.
I was taking calculus for the third time my senior year, so my graduating semester when we did Selenium, and I had a job, so that was fun. I think that was this out semester. I think y'all knew me. I kind of turned into a little happy medicine person.
A little glug glug.
Yeah, a little, like, you know, life juice.
If I may quote Tyler from our most recent Jujutsu talk, don't make me do math while reading a manga.
Not a good time.
And that's just his life motto. Vagante, very fun. I want to play more.
Very fun. I like the devs. They did a good job.
Play it pretty much just about whenever.
All right, I read a book. I'll talk to y'all about a book. I know y'all love books. It's called The Lies of Locke Lamora. It is part of a series called the Gentleman Bastard series. It's a recommendation from known book YouTuber Murphy Napier from way back when I followed her before she did One Piece, just because I wanted to get into books. And this is like one of her favorite series. Someone else on our server has also read it, Sir Ket. So it's somewhat known. Basically, The Lies of Locke Lamora is the story of a band of thieves called the Gentleman Bastards, and it consists of, like, they were taken in young. It consists of Locke, the Sansa twins that are twins that kind of change who they are for the day, so they can pull off like multi-place stunts and stuff. There's Jean, who's like a big chubby brawler guy and Locke's best friend. And then there's Bug, who is the newest initiate of the crew, who's like 12 years old. I picture him just covered in soot and being a little shitter. He speaks real funny, according to the audiobook reader. And they're pulling a con on like these, I think it's like a wine-based con where they're extorting money from them in the pretense of like sailing some of their goods through a ship. And it gets complex where other organizations get in the way, like there's a whole underworld in the city that they live in, and it goes places. It's very heartbreaking at some points. I think the best part about this book is the prose. The way that stuff is written is just excellent. It's very colorful language, both in dialogue and how things are described. But it does also suffer sometimes from just being like very easy to lose your track and kind of get bored of what's happening. Like when they're pulling a con, sometimes you don't have context for what's happening until a lot later, so you get confused really easily. And but once like around like a fourth into the book, it gets really good when you start getting more of Locke's backstory, how he grew up in this family of thieves, how like their bonds kind of were forged and grew over time. Those are some of those flashbacks are some of the best parts of the book. The con also starts getting really interested, and then the book gets really good where Locke is put into like a stuck between a hard place and a rock and a third rock situation where he's just getting slammed from all sides and everything is going wrong, and you have to find out like getting around that had a lot of sacrifices. It was very dire, and it's kind of the climax of the book is him kind of getting around that. But then afterwards, there's like one final mission to accomplish where he has to take revenge on someone who kind of took advantage of the situation that was happening in the world and kind of climbed to a higher place, but at the cost of he did stuff that was very personal to Locke and antagonized him in a way where it's like, oh, I will spend the remaining fourth of this book getting revenge on you. And I think that section is really slow and kind of weak until the very end. So basically, overall summary, great prose, gets very, very engaging, very interesting. Pretty cool world building, but then it kind of has a pretty big lull before the climax. And that's The Lives of Locke Lamora. I think Joe would like this book.
It's on my reading list, for sure.
Actually, Tyler would like this book because I think he likes cheeky characters like Locke. Locke is a very Tyler character. I don't know if it's Bradley core, you know?
Not my core.
No.
No.
No, not quite. You know what is Bradley core?
What is?
Nathan For You / The Rehearsal, which I watched all of it. Like, I just ate that shit up. It was a very addicting watch.
Yeah, you sped through that, and that's kind of how I watched it too the first time. As soon as I found out about it, I kind of just sped through the whole thing.
I've heard of Nathan From You in the past. It's a TV show that I watched on Hulu for anyone interested. And I heard from it from Super Eye Patch Wolf's Let's Fight a Boss podcast. He recommended it a while ago, and I was like, I'll get around to it. And then Bradley brought up The Rehearsal, and I was like, oh, that's like Nathan Fielder's follow-up show, so I should probably get around to that. Nathan For You, how do I describe it? It's like...
God, he's a supervillain.
I don't know if he's a supervillain in that one, but he is a supervillain in The Rehearsal. I feel like it's like his origin story. We'll say that.
Dude.
I don't know what he did prior to this, by the way. What is he known for before Nathan For You?
So here's the thing. I actually realized I was following Nathan Fielder for like over a year before I discovered Nathan For You. Because I discovered Nathan For You because someone on Reddit was like, man, if you like cringe comedy, this show called Nathan For You is good. And I was like, fuck it.
Yeah.
And I did cringe. But so apparently the reason I was following on him on Instagram is because he would post like normal everyday life photos like, oh, I baked something, or like, oh, at work today at the computer. But there would always be a penis hidden in the background, like in the reflection of the computer screen, or like a shadow in the background. Like, so that was funny. And then also he's collaborated a tiny bit with Sacha Baron Cohen, which kind of makes sense. I feel like they have very similar styles.
Makes a lot of sense.
There's a very hilarious sketch they did where Sacha Baron Cohen goes to a small town to pitched to them that they're getting a brand new mosque in their town, and all these people are like very openly like, we don't want that shit here. And so it's really funny, and they collaborated on that. But anything Nathan Fielder has touched, which is very few things, I really like.
Yeah, he's very talented. So Nathan, for you, right off the bat, I think Tyler would really like this show. So you should give it a try. But it's basically, he graduated from a business school in Canada, and like with great grades, he says he has like B minuses and Bs.
Yeah, right.
But he will give your small business exposure and a good idea on how to improve their business. But these ideas are insane. But
God,
and you know what's fucked up? I talked to Bradley. It's like sometimes they almost sound kind of good. They almost make sense.
Yeah, like he'll come up with an idea, and you're sitting there like, is there a reason you can't do that? I don't think there is.
Yeah, they all are technically legal, aside from fake Starbucks that he got in trouble for. Here's some of the ideas to give you a lay for like a feeling for what the show is. We're gonna call your coffee shop fake Starbucks and say it's parody law, so you can't take us down. And it's gonna confuse people that think they're going to Starbucks and generate a bunch of revenue. And it's like, yeah, I guess you can, huh? You could do that. Or let's make a hot dog stand where you can cut to the front of the line if you have like a doctor's appointment or somewhere very important to be, and it just works on an honor system. And sometimes he'll like be in the line and like have a call with the doctor because the hot dog stand is always full and like very busy. So someone cuts the line, and then he follows them home and sees that they went to a movie theater after, so they weren't that busy. So then he like stages this kidnapping basically, where he tells the person that they want a trip out to sea, and then like on the boat he reveals that there's people on the boat that he cut, and then he like forces them to apologize. So he tricks this guy to go out on a boat at sea just to apologize to these people.
Yeah, there's kind of two varieties of episodes I like to think about. There's the ones where he goes through these just really absurd schemes to help these businesses. And then there's the ones where he'll do that, but then he'll talk to his judge friend who is like, you're kind of in trouble here. And so he'll have to cover his ass. Like there was the one where they were shooting a fake movie in the souvenir shop so people would come in and buy souvenirs. And then the judge is like, no, people can sue you for that because you were telling them they were going to be in a movie when they bought $80 worth of merchandise. So Nathan's like, oh, so what do I have to do so they can't sue me? And he's like, well, if, I don't know, you won a film festival and it was accepted as like a movie by the general public. So he creates his own film festival and like...
He submits his own movie to it.
Yeah, he creates his own film festival just so he can submit his own movie and win. And so, I don't know.
The humor comes at the lengths that Nathan has to go to make the idea actually work, and then also seeing the idea in practice. Another one is like, overweight people can't ride horses, and that's really sad. My idea is we're going to attach huge-ass balloons to overweight people to offset the weight so they can ride the horses. And then they have to go through this whole thing where, like, while you're doing the ride, they have people with, like, big spatulas smack away branches so the balloons don't pop, and then, like, technically it worked.
And then, you know, he's always perfectly stone-faced, so then people over on the side are laughing at these people batting the balloons away, and he's like, is this a joke to you?
It's very good. The best bit by far is when there's a small electronics company next to a big Best Buy, and he's like, Best Buy has a price match policy, so for one day you are going to make your prices across the street $1 for televisions, and then you're going to go to Best Buy and have people buy those televisions for $1 because they have to price match. So then they're like, but we need to make sure people can't come to your store that day and actually buy the TVs for $1. And the ways that he goes about making sure people can't buy the TVs while the scheme's going on are fucking hilarious. I was laughing so hard. Which,
as someone who worked at Best Buy, I really want that. I want to see that and experience that.
It is so good. And then the final episode of the series is insane. It is Nathan takes over the life of someone else, and then, like, does a big stunt where he walks the tightrope between two buildings and then swaps with that person right after he's finished so that person can get all the fame and glory. So he wears like a prosthetic of their face and pretends to be them and has to interact with their grandparents. Is like, shit, I'm not going to be able to fool his grandparents from a distance. So he makes this whole scenario where, like, there's like an active shooter situation at his apartment complex. So he has to, like, talk to his grandparents from a distance, like, and the police won't let them get closer. So he's just waving at them and they're like, are you okay? He's like, yeah, I'm okay. But he has to record the dude saying lines so that they also recognize his voice. So he has like a tape deck of the lines the dude would say to his grandparents from a distance. It's absurd. And then, like,
dude,
but he tells a story with that episode. It's like a sad story. I feel like that was the prototype for the Rehearsal, which currently has 3 episodes out. How do you feel about the Rehearsal, Bradley?
I am loving it so far. Because I only found out about it about a week before it came out because he posted about it on Instagram and was just like July 15th. And I was like, oh my God. So, man, I was blown away. I think we've talked about it, but when the Willy Wonka music starts playing in that first episode, I feel like that sets the tone for the whole show.
There's actual moments of cinema. I haven't mentioned it, but people get on this show because of misleading Craigslist ads and to be on like fake documentaries and reality shows. So they're real people that he tricks and changes the context to be in these locations. So the Rehearsal, I can't even explain it because the show is so not what I expected. How would you explain it?
Basically, how do you... What if you were talking to someone and you were meeting them for the first time, but they had rehearsed this conversation with you hundreds of times beforehand? That would feel fucking creepy to me. And that's kind of what he does.
Yeah, that is the premise of that's a good premise. Basically, he's like, you can rehearse any tough interaction in the world if you just commit to it hard enough. So he gets like, the first episode I think is still the best and the longest, where he this guy has been doing trivia with his group for years, and he lied to them and told them he has a master's degree, and it's been eating away at him because they all have master's degree and he didn't want to feel lesser. So he's like, I need to break it to them. One of them is giving me job interviews that I just can't live up to, and it's becoming like quite the inconvenience. So they stage this rehearsal where it's going to be the day that he breaks the truth to like the most, I don't know, high maintenance girl in the group, to say, the one that he feels would be most judgmental. So they get this actress to be this woman. Bradley, that actress was incredible.
I kind of couldn't tell them apart whenever they were talking to each other. The real girl and the actress.
The way they got the mannerisms was insane. And to do this, like, the actress had to like fake an interview with like the actual woman to absorb her characteristics, and then she was able to perfectly replicate them, which is like, oh, he found this weirdo actress probably on Craigslist who is a god at acting as another woman, so that's interesting. He rebuilds the entire set of the bar that they're going to do the conversation in. And I mean, he literally rebuilds every single detail of the bar just so they can rehearse in it. And
when he says every detail, like even on individual bar stools, like certain rips in the upholstery, they recreated it, like cracks in the brick. It's insane.
It's every detail. And what has been weird about the show right now, I think the plot line going on in episode 2 and is in the background of episode 3, where like he's helping a woman see what parenthood is like by stealth swapping a adopted child every night. Like, is that the right way to explain it? Like, there's a baby that the parent agreed to be the adopted child for the night, and then overnight Nathan's people will come in and swap the baby out for a toddler, and then swap the toddler out for a 6-year-old. So it's like simulating, but then Nathan's like, well, we're seeing the kid age, but we need to feel the passage of time. So he installs mirrors that show you older. into the house, so every time you see a reflection of yourself, you see it as you but older. And he has the crew swap crops that they plant out in the yard for fully grown crops the next day. It's like, I don't really know what we're accomplishing here with the second scheme. And I don't know.
Yeah. I just, one thing I really liked is that, especially in the first episode, I kind of appreciated, I appreciate what the show does, because in many other reality shows, I feel like whenever the actual time came around, like, for example, for that guy to confront his friend, many reality shows do the whole, like, okay, we got the headset in your ear and we're going to tell you what to say.
Yeah.
But this, they're like, no, they wanted to stick with the premise of the show, which is like, okay, it's a game time, you got to do it. And that was really interesting to watch because, you know, after he had rehearsed it dozens and dozens of times, he was handling it a little bit better. But when the actual time came around, he froze up and he couldn't even look at the girl.
Dude, the bit with the pizza had me actually sick to my stomach. I don't know if I felt anxiety quite like that in a long time. It was
God, but you know what? It turned out great for him because they rehearsed all of the worst possible scenarios and it wasn't that bad. And another thing I thought was really cool is it goes beyond even just rehearsing the bar. Nathan also had this guy rehearse different aftermath scenarios. Like, what about the scenario where she cusses you out and you guys aren't friends anymore? He had him, like, sit down in his bed at home and, like, think about, like, what is your life going to be like now? And he also had him rehearse, like, what if this makes you guys closer? And they rehearse, like, I don't know, just going out together as friends the next day.
And, yeah, like, the meta narrative being told with this evil Willy Wonka character that is Nathan Fielder is very. That's why, like, even though I wasn't so hot on episode 2, episode 3 kept the plot line of episode 2, but on the side did another rehearsal, which I thought is what that episode needed.
Also, it needed it.
That ended so abruptly that I feel like the dude just didn't show up, and they're like, well, we don't have enough footage to make a whole episode out of this, so we're gonna slot it in between.
I could see that.
Something like that, because it was interesting because the rehearsal, like, during the rehearsal sections, the second guy he helped had like a breakthrough, I think, where he didn't even need the show anymore. He just ghosted Nathan, or he realized there was some manipulation going on because, oh my god, Nathan manipulated the most insane scenario to get the character, the person rehearsing into character.
Maybe it's just that he refined his technique so much because, you know, in that first episode, the guy froze up and Nathan's like, you know, I can create the rehearsal of, like, the setting as much as I want, but they're not rehearsing the feeling.
Yeah.
He's like, what if I created a scenario that would give them the exact same feeling as what they were rehearsing?
And he fucking did, like, through this incredibly convoluted.
The guy knowing about it.
Yeah.
And after he did that, the guy was like, he just stopped reaching out to Nathan. It's like, did that just work? I don't know.
It's very interesting. So the rehearsal, you can catch it on HBO, I think, is the only place that has it. So I finally broke and got an HBO subscription to watch this, which is also how I watch Shazam and such.
Nice.
Lego Batman finally coming up. I've tried to watch that movie 2 times. Both times it was in the wrong language. I'm finally like, tonight's the night where I have the energy to watch Lego Batman, and that motherfucker's speaking in Swedish, and I'm so mad. Because I've seen that opening scene of Lego Robin talking to the camera, and I just don't know what he's saying, but I've seen it so many times now. It's such a failure. Okay. Raise your hand if you watched Thor, Love and Thunder.
I did.
I'm not raising my hand.
All right. Do you want to watch it, Bradley?
You know, I think I think Endgame was like the finale of the MCU for me, and there's been some good epilogues, and I know they're making 2 more phases after the one they just finished.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't think y'all got to worry about spoiling MCU for me. I think I'm good.
Do watch the last. You know what? Just skip to the last episode of Loki, and that's all you need to.
I'll
see.
do that.
No. Did you watch Shang-Chi?
I did. I loved that.
Shang-Chi was good.
Y'all gas up Shang-Chi so much.
It was good.
It's solid.
Even if it had that one actress.
Whoa. What is this?
Whoa.
Aquafina?
Yeah, I can't. The girl who she did good in that movie. Despite how much I don't like her voice, she did good.
My God,
Yeah.
when she is fighting the demons after learning to use the bow for 6 hours, that was a little bit much to me.
Nah.
But I thought she was fine in that movie. Anyways, Thor: Love and Thunder. How'd y'all feel? The greatest MCU movie. The Thor has the best movie series. All bangers.
I was not surprised, but I was just very much just like, man, this movie's rough.
I heard this movie was Garbo.
I was surprised, actually, because while I don't like Ragnarok, it's because of tonal issues. It at least has a good plot structure. This has a weird plot structure and even more tonal issues.
I read the Gore comic that this is mainly based off of. As soon as I finished that comic, I immediately went, "Oh, this movie is not going to be good if they're trying to use this character, because this character has his own kind of like relationship to Thor that they are not going to capitalize on because they are using Jane Foster instead, who has their own relationship to Thor that really needs its own kind of standout movie, I think." And that's the big thing to me.
So the plot of this movie is Jane Foster has cancer, and then through a pact that Thor made with Mjolnir a long time ago, Mjolnir starts listening to Jane, and Gore is out butchering the gods, except as everyone jokes, this movie has very little god butchering. In fact, they introduced a setting with a bunch of gods that is ripe for butchering, and they just never capitalized on it, which I thought was kind of weird.
For the main, I think me and Willer were sitting next to each other, and I was like, "Oh, this is Zeth's son, Villano."
Oh, dude, huge Stormlight vibes though from the main villain for sure. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
He finds Sword Mimi, who is like Zeth's evil sword that talks to him and can kill gods. It's just straight up Stormlight. He's the assassin dressed in white. Everything but wind running he can do.
By the way, when are we getting Stormlight movies? I'm ready for that shit.
That's what I'm wondering. When are we getting Tyler and Willer talk about Stormlight 4 and how good it was? Did you know, Tyler, that's everyone's least favorite book?
That's because, I imagine people who read a lot of Brandon Sanderson don't have good taste.
Wow. No,
I like to talk shit about a lot of people.
Yeah, I was gonna say, just know that Tyler's opinions do not reflect on the whole podcast. They are his own.
I don't know why people find that one to be their least favorite. I think it's the most entertaining and goes into a lot of character detail. I really can't actually. Maybe because it focuses on the wife. What's her name? Navani,
who's great, who's fucking fantastic in this book.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay, we're getting sidetracked. All I know is Kaladin has the goat arc in that book. It's so good.
Such a good book.
Oh man. Anyways, Thor does not have the goat arc. He's just kind of a dumb jock in this movie who's in love. I do love the theme of love coming back around at the end.
I do too.
I thought that was pretty
sweet. Like that. I feel like also like there's like no connective tissue to any scene that was happening. Yeah, it felt like we're just going scene to scene to scene to scene to scene, and it's just like it felt like very much like, unfortunately, like Korg just talking like, and then this happened, and then this happened, and then this happened.
I was so happy when Korg died, and then so upset when he lived. I think Korg is already overplayed, and he's been in 3 movies. It's bad.
Y'all, nothing happened this movie. The only thing that happened was Jane died.
Yeah.
Thor got a daughter.
Thor, I mean, he
did not.
The same.
He did not. Yeah. No, there was 0 character development in this movie.
Thor got a daughter. That's all I said. He got a small child.
I heard dumber. No, he did. No. I cannot deny the fact that he does have a daughter, but
I was like, what?
Isn't his daughter actually like a space god that's gonna eat the world?
Yeah. That's the thing. Like, he's
when I've been down with the MCU, even though I think Phase 4 has been. It's weird. Phase 4 did not have a finale movie. Did it?
Neither. Oh, well, I guess Phase 1 did.
They moved Quantumania to Phase 5.
5. Yeah.
So I don't know, but Phase 4 has been a mess. I still need to watch Moon Knight. I've watched the first 2 scenes, and I was not feeling it, which is very unfair to say. But I need to give it a try.
So I previously watched Moon Knight. I watched Thor: Love and Thunder. I watched Miss Marvel. All of that, which should have been included in the podcast, but I just completely forgot.
Yeah, it happens.
Also lost Miss Marvel.
I really, I hate to be on that crowd, but Miss Marvel wasn't bad. It just felt like I was watching a Disney original TV show.
Miss Marvel was good up until halfway through the series, and then it just was like...
The latter half was shit.
Is that not the classic Marvel TV show where half the episodes are fucking good and half the episodes are weird and bad? I feel like that's happened to pretty much every show.
I feel like WandaVision was pretty solid and Loki was...
WandaVision's last 2 episodes are way worse than the...
Yeah, those are 2 episodes compared to 4.
True.
So, like... And by that point in the show, you had gotten enough of the show to really, like, get a lot of beat to it.
Yeah. True.
Whereas Miss Marvel, like, halfway through it, I was like, yeah, man. I really like Kamala. I really like the style they're going with.
But then you have, like, Captain America show where it's like, wow, half of this was really good, and then half of it not so good.
Yeah.
Man, that episode where John Walker goes crazy, one of the best episodes. And then you have, like, Hawkeye, like... First 3 episodes are actually some of my favorite MCU stuff, and then 4 and 5 not so good. 6 more take it or leave it.
Yeah,
and, I feel like they just. Do you think they went to TV shows to have? And I mean, Tyler probably knows because he's got insider baseball here. But do you think they went to TV shows to have less VFX budget for this phase? Where they can be cheaper with the shows, but they shoot longer, but they have to do less VFX. I feel like that's why they did it this way. I don't know.
It is quantity over quality.
Maybe they wanted to.
That is the name of the game, right?
Maybe they wanted to always be in the zeitgeist. It's because there's always a Disney Star Wars, Marvel, Star Wars, Marvel, Star Wars. Like it's always something going on with these fucks.
They always need content on their platform, which is interesting compared to Netflix, who has been breaking up their content. I feel,
dude, but Age of Kang or Dynasty of Kang is the next Avengers movie. That should on paper be the coolest thing based on what they set up. However, I just don't know if the characters are going to be able to carry it at this point because they're not hitting.
I think there's too many characters being introduced, compared to Avengers, where there's 5 core characters that we are following,
and then we meet them up, and then we introduce the big shebang. But now, we don't have our core group. Who's Sam Wilson's friend? Who's Captain America's new friend? But that's already an established relation. Where's his Tony Stark? Where's his Natasha? There's not even any of that. It's really fucky right now.
I think also they're also just creating some stories that aren't gonna tie everybody in.
Yeah, when I found out that that tweet actually blew me away. That Eternals had a huge giant body embedded into the earth, and I have never heard about it.
Do you want to tell you what the story of Eternals
that
is?
astounded me. I was sitting here, I was like, even if Willer hasn't seen the movie, I just assumed you knew about it.
Because one show, at least one show would have brought it up, and I would have seen it in a Reddit thread. The fact that I didn't know about that until last week is insane.
Well, here's the thing. Eternals is all about abortion, and we don't talk about that, so...
is that true?
Yeah.
Are y'all gaslighting me? Because you could tell me it's about anything.
No. The plot of Eternals is they find out... big spoilers on Eternals is they find out is that Earth...
Earth-chan is pregnant.
Earth is just like an egg that takes the consciousness of intelligent beings and kind of absorbs it to make a new celestial, and then the celestial is born out of Earth and destroys Earth and everything on it, kind of a thing.
That is that on paper, I might be a hater. That sounds really fucking stupid.
It's
also the Eternals are mass produced.
Hey, hold on! I'm watching Eternals tomorrow. I promise. It's
okay.
No spoilers. All right.
Yeah.
Enough MCU doom and gloom. Comics are lame. Yeah. Whatever.
We've always known. It's always been known.
Moon Knight. I enjoyed it.
Yeah.
It is the most sci-fi original looking of Disney so far. But I enjoyed the character a lot.
Yeah, I think Oscar Isaac did a really good job.
Moon Knight is set up to be one of the most volatile characters of entertainment that we could have in the MCU.
Well, he's like Deadpool-esque from what I understand.
No,
he's kind of fucking... No, not in the fourth wall breaking, but he's zany and kind of crazy in the comics.
No, he's not. That's all memes that people make up.
You're right. I've been corrected about this before. You're right.
He is just actually insane.
Yeah.
Right. Anywho, I do need to watch that one. Maybe that's my next. I would
recommend that.
I didn't mention it, but what I've been watching, aside from Nathan For You, is just 3 seasons of Survivor in the span of a month. So,
man,
I'm into that shit right now. Survivor gets insane some seasons.
Man, I think the next one starts in September, Willer.
Hulu so Netflix has 2 Survivor seasons. Hulu has like 10 to 15. So if you want to get into Survivor, I would do it through Hulu. It's the perfect background show. So many Monster Hunter hunts have been made. I didn't talk about Sunbreak. We'll do that later. Bioshock.
Do it. Yeah.
Ooh.
Me and Joe have been playing Bioshock for weeks now. Pretty much the length of the Better Call Saul season. We've been playing Bioshock, and we wrapped it up about a week or 2 ago. This was my first time playing Bioshock. This is Joe's 11th.
Yeah. I think 20th, maybe, but...
Jesus, I thought I was overshooting it.
Now, Willer, you and I are both not typically huge FPS fans. How did you enjoy this experience?
So, I quite liked Bioshock's... the shooting wasn't, necessarily great. As Tyler would say, the gun feel wasn't always the best. I guess it was nothing special. However, the ammo resource management really scratched a nice Resident Evil itch.
That's really good.
Yes. I think, having to switch your ammo types, the fact that they're elemental, the fact each gun has different types, and it takes time in combat to switch between them. You have the powers, which my go-to power was just throwing down the decoy that would just get people the fuck off me for a little bit. And then bees became my anti-Big Daddy strat, so shout out to Tyler.
Ooh.
Dr. Bees.
Oh, Big Daddies cannot handle bees. You could just spam bee, they get stunned, you shoot a crossbow, and you can...
They can't see fuckers that small. That's why.
It's true.
They're too small for their eyes.
Bioshock was quite the experience. I think the way they do their audio logs is a little jank, because...
It was an older time.
It was an older time. The fact that they play, but, either you sit there and just listen to the log, which is kind of boring in a 2-person setting, or you move while doing it, but then, a lot of action just jumps on you while you're listening to the log, so... Anyways, it turned out to be a lot of Joe contextualizing the plot for me. I don't know how you, caught on with the plot, Bradley. I don't know, if you walked away with, the full understanding of what was going on. But I would not have...
When I was in 8th grade, I certainly did not.
But I had good guy Joe who had played the game 20 times and was able to contextualize a lot of stuff. What was funny was I was when we started the game, I was I know the main plot of this game, or the main twist, I just don't remember it. And then about an hour before we got to it, I was oh right, it's this. However, I did not know that the game keeps going after that. And that might be my criticism of the game, is that the last stretch feels a little unneeded, or maybe you could have shortened the first stretch if you wanted to keep that last stretch. I feel the game could have been shorter.
Yeah, I think the last stretch of the game could definitely have been shorter. I think it would have been better if you wake up in Tenenbaum's location and she's all right, I know where he is. You need to go here, and you go into the lab where you have to gather all the Big Daddy parts. I think that would have been just just go straight into that.
Yeah, if you went from that Big Daddy section to the final boss fight, I feel that would be a pretty good stretch.
Yeah, because
No, go ahead, Joe.
Because between that is you have to go get the mixture that turns off your mind control. And I think that could have easily been slotted into that area as a narrative device.
I agree. The thing with the Big Daddy section is as soon as you put on the hammer, a game that kind of like the backgrounds were kind of muddy, so I would never see fucking cameras, and I would always get a heart attack. I didn't mention it. This was an extremely stressful gaming experience, even though it was fun. Joe would just crack up at me freaking out at everything because like people would just jump on me from behind, or the alarms would blare. It was hilarious.
What's funny is that, like, when Willer would get spot by a camera, rather than, like, what I do, which is if I ever walk into something, I immediately hear the camera start going, I immediately just back up, directly back, because I know the camera can't see me. So I would just back up, wait, and then see where it saw me. Willer would just sit there and then panic search where he was.
It would.
And try to, like, kill it before he found him, which never worked.
I would, like, switch to ice and look around, and then just be swarmed by 15 robots.
Yes.
But you're right. Now that you mention, I don't know why you didn't bring this up at all.
So I really wanted to just watch you. I wanted to do it as like
it was
medical
an
as possible, and just be like, I want to see like Willer's played a lot of games. I, who has played Bioshock to death and knows the ins and outs and knows like what I need to go to, what I need to avoid, it's just like. I have my own rotation of like powers and systems. I don't want to have any influence on what Willer's doing. I want him to learn through just experiencing the game. And then if he happens to mess something up or he doesn't understand anything, I can fill him in there.
Joe helped me, especially in the times where I did not have waypoints, and I was just like, Joe, I'm crying, help.
Yeah. And like then like at the very end, once we got past the big twist, I was like, all right, I'm going to just step in now so we could get to the end much quicker, or otherwise we'll be here forever. But yeah, but like that's what I came in through very medical. Like I just want to see someone who's never played this game before, never had any experience with it.
I hope you enjoyed the experiment, Joe.
It was very interesting, although frustrating at times from my point of view.
Oh, I know. I must have drove you insane. I'm sorry.
Like there's the hacking mini game that's in this game.
No, come on, man. Sure, I did it different than you, but I nailed it every time, pretty much.
Yeah, it's just like drives me insane because from my perspective, it's like whenever I hack very aggressively. Like I take off like the first like tube off and start redirecting it from there immediately. Basically,
when Joe told me that was it. I would just flip stuff until I found the squiggly one. And I was like, okay, I win, because it would slow down the process so much.
But I also was like, I got plasmids that were very much just like whenever I hacked a thing, I heal and get Eve back, I get ammo back. I got all of those plasmids whenever I did runs.
Hacking was all right. It happens a little too frequently, which is a problem I have with Nier Automata, where like these games could stand to pace hacking a little less, because Automata has a character whose main combat gimmick is to hack, and you have to replay the whole game as them pretty much. So a lot of hacking, and I feel like it's the same here.
I agree with you
about the Big Daddy sequence. I feel like that's a sequence people would probably get pretty hyped about. As soon as that helmet got put on me, I got so annoyed because it restricts your field of vision, and the worst part is all it does is increase your health. Like you don't drastically change your gameplay to play like a Big Daddy, which I think
I'll kind of give you that one, because that whole sequence leading up to it, like the first time I played the game, I was like, let's fucking go, I'm gonna be a Big Daddy, this is what I've always wanted. And then like you put it on and it's like, oh, I mean,
you have worse vision. Congrats.
Yeah, see, that's exactly why, like when they announced who you're gonna play as in the second one, I was like, let's fucking go.
Yeah, I've been told you're a Big Daddy in the second one. It's like, what does that mean? Like the whole time?
You are.
It's fucking
Delta. You play as Delta, who is the first ever Big Daddy made, like the first successful one.
Oh.
And you are reawakened in Bioshock after your decommissioning for some reason. And that's kind of like all I'll leave you at the plot there. I think the game, and it's great because you get the drill. Drill's fucking fun.
The drill is so fucking fun.
I bet it's better than that dumbass fucking wrench.
Oh yeah,
it's so much better.
Joe was like, "You can make a wrench build, you know." I'm like, "Yeah, whatever, dork."
Because with the drill, you also get cool stuff like you have to like manage your fuel, and you also get like a dash, and you can continuously drill or you can punch.
Interesting series.
Rinse feel real good. You can literally just walk up behind people and one hit kill them.
Worth mentioning, I also like balancing my perks. I thought the perks had good impact on the gameplay. Honestly, for a shooter, like I had fun with like the like the gameplay loop was addicting. I would just get annoyed at like little things because probably because of age and general biases that I might have. But I thought it was a good experience.
I would not be opposed to a Bioshock like remake, Resident Evil 2 style.
A remake would slap because also the character models are so goofy.
Yes,
like,
that's the thing. I looked up a picture of Andrew Ryan, and I was like,
I was just gonna say.
I was like, oh my god, he looks so low. Like, I don't know, it looks so old.
When Andrew Ryan's doing the big plot twist, I'm like, man, this is kind of cool, but I can't take it seriously because look at him.
It makes me kind of glad that a lot of the vocal like interactions we have with people are from like your little like call boxes you have, and you just see their picture. Because I think they knew that, and they're like, let's just make it this, so we don't have to worry about animating them. And it doesn't like get too derpy.
Makes it a lot easier to kill those little girls when they look like aliens. So, no.
That was also a part of it too.
I did not kill the girls except for one, and Joe was like, "I've never seen that scene." I was like, "Everybody gets one." So, I just needed to see what the mechanic was like, and
Mm-hmm.
I also it was the first girl I interacted with. I wasn't aware that you like straight up snap them out of their evil like mind state if you fix them. Like I didn't realize it just objectively makes their life better. I was still like, oh, they're still little freaks, but that is not the case.
Nope.
I do like the finale where they just gang up on Fontaine. That was pretty cool.
Yeah, they just stab his ass. I like Bioshock is my favorite game ever. And I've told Miller multiple times, like it's primarily nostalgia because it definitely I played that game at like the right moment of my life.
Yeah.
To really kind of.
Joe got woke. That's why Joe can be who he is.
It's true. I had to keep it hidden from the parentals.
Yeah, that is what's so funny. Like when you were telling that story, I just picture like big normal like Houston conservative Joe plays Bioshock and goes, "Whoa, man!"
Whoa. No, like I really did. It also didn't help that like Andrew Ryan looks like Walt Disney, so like that's another layer on top of it for me. But yeah, it was a fun time to play with Willer. I don't know if we'll do Bioshock 2.
Man,
maybe we will.
I can play it on my own if you want, but we can find it.
I just want a quick
hot take. I think playing games with me makes games better. Ask Bradley.
Dude, yeah, it does.
I have a talent for it, but it may depends if I'm ruining Joe's childhood by freaking out at cameras every 30 seconds.
Once I got over it's a weird thing where like I got really frustrated at the beginning, and then once I just kind of realized the personality quirk, I just started laughing at it every time it happened.
Yeah,
like
how you learn to love the bomb and such.
It's true.
This concludes B&B Nights, which is the combo we had of playing Bioshock and watching Better Call Saul. Which, small spoiler alert, last episode of Better Call Saul, like, Joe, I played board games with Joe, and he's like, man, Willer, I'm still thinking about that episode, and I woke up this morning, I was like, man, some of these episodes, you just can't stop thinking about it.
I still think about that Reddit post and, like, what I talked to you about over Discord.
So good, like, like, not to give much away, they are doing something so interesting, we think, with the concept of what a prequel sequel is, and, like, the implications of what that means as a viewer experience. Like, they're getting kind of meta with it, where the show ended an episode ago, and then 3 episodes happen, and you're like, oh, that's why. So I am envious of Bradley getting to watch the most recent episode into the next episode without a break.
Let's go.
Because I feel like the episode ends on this cliffhanger where I can just tell watching that cliffhanger into what's going to happen next is going to be like a surreal experience. Which actually that's already happened once with the transition of like the end of the Kim storyline and the beginning of Saul stuff. So like, man, like they're doing it, man. Like I don't know how they made 2 masterpieces. No, most people can't make one, and this creative team is just incredible. So that's your quick update on Better Call Saul for now. We watched Nope. Bradley, did you see Nope? Jordan Peele's new movie?
No, I really wanted to.
While y'all talk about this,
my plan was that when Emmy and I went to Abilene, we would watch it at the drive-in theater because Abilene still has a drive-in theater, which is really nice.
This is a great drive-in theater movie.
Yeah.
But all they had was like the new Jurassic Park and DC Super Pets. So they did not have Nope.
I hear DC Super Pets is super good. I bet you would.
No way.
I hear it's actually super good.
Damn, it is.
I didn't talk about Jurassic World. I watched it with my family. It's a fantastic family movie. I think that movie is like weirdly overhated. I think people take Jurassic Park very seriously.
Yeah, they do, and they shouldn't. It's fucking dinosaurs.
I had fun. I skipped the second one, which is probably why I'm not fatigued. I think that might explain it. Anywho, Tyler, I don't know if you're still here. We're not going to spoil Nope.
Okay.
Yeah.
But Joe, you can talk about it. I watched it with Joe and some other friends.
Yeah, so Nope is Jordan Peele's movie. I should also mention I have not seen any of Jordan Peele's movies.
You should.
And so I kind of went to Nope, and I am a horror game player and a horror book reader. I do not watch horror movies because I feel like I am stuck in the horror, whereas like with a book or a game I can stop or whatever, you know. So this was an interesting experience for me. I really liked this movie. Jordan Peele is a phenomenal director and writer. I think he understands the medium. He understands what to give his audience while also sending a really good message. I think Nope has tons of layers to it. I think it also has probably the most terrifying scene I've ever seen in cinema. Like
this is not a scary movie, but it has an incredibly fucked up scene that
no,
I felt so uncomfortable. Like my mouth was agape, and I looked next to the Ashlyn was sitting next to me, and the horrified look on her face is very iconic and very emblematic of what that scene was.
And because of that scene, I'll probably never watch that movie again.
I must straight it has a couple tense scenes and just one scene that is so surreally weird.
Yeah, it's also like that scene just also to me is like just hit this primal spot in my brain of like that's actually terrifying.
It was fantastic. And also, so, Tyler, what do you know about this movie?
Nothing, and that's what I'd like to keep it about. I know that something mysterious shows up, and they all go, nope.
Well, damn. Well, I guess that's that then. I don't want to say anymore.
Because I will say, though...
Joe, the last design looked really cool. I want to say that. It was... The transformations of threat were very interesting in this movie, and there's a side narrative happening here with something that happened with a monkey in the past. Those scenes are so good.
Yeah, I was going to say is that I honestly thought that opening scene was an extension of their title card.
Me too!
I was just like, I guess that's Jordan Peele's production title card, whatever. And then the movie started, and then it came back. I was like, oh
god, this is a real plot thread. And basically, the movie is saying something very interesting about an audience's relationship with television, with media, and spectacle. And we'll leave it at that. If you watch Nope, keep that in mind, and you might be able to see some very cool parallels. Also, Nope has one of the coolest movie posters I've seen. Actually, has two of them.
Yeah.
When you see it, you're like, oh my god. The thing with the vagina, Joe. I was like, you're right, I guess.
Yep.
That is what it is. That's a vagina. All right. Yep. Nope. Go watch it. People are saying it's Jordan Peele's worst movie and that it's awful. I don't know.
They're wrong. I don't think they understood.
The movie challenges you a little bit, and I think that's good. So, I don't know. Yeah. To say it's horrible is kind of absurd to me. I can see you not liking it, but everyone... What's crazy is we went with this in a group of people that, aren't necessarily into, more artsy movie with, big overarching themes, but, our friend Austin, who... doesn't really get that excited about movies. Was like, oh yeah, that's one of the best movies I've seen in a while. So it got a lot of emotions out of a group of very different opinions and tastes, which I thought was pretty impressive. Multiversus came out, and it's a free-to-play Smash-like.
Yeah. I have been playing it nonstop the past 2 days. It is so fun to me right now.
It is very fun.
Here's something I'll throw out there. Here's the moment that sold me on the game. In my first online versus match, I legitimately laughed my ass off because I was playing Superman. and I did side special, and I was flying towards him, and Superman's like da 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 da, and then Bugs Bunny pulls out his mallet, and it plays this cartoon sound effect, and he slams me down into the abyss. And I don't know, I just laughed because I was like, I don't know, just the idea of Bugs Bunny fucking up Superman is so funny to me.
Yeah, for anyone curious and has never heard of this is the Warner Brothers Smash Brothers fighting game, but they're going to go above Warner Brothers. They're 100% going to Fortnite this and grab anyone they can.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
So I think anything that's not Disney and Nintendo is on the table, and maybe like Sony might want to retry. But aside from that, they're going to put it all.
Warner Brothers got a lot of properties.
They're gonna throw Harry Potter in there.
Absolutely, that's going to be huge.
Harry Potter's guaranteed. Voldemort's going to show up and start Avada Kedavra Superman.
They have one attack, and it's of Dava Kedavra.
Avada Kedavra.
Yo, we're doing it again. we can't keep getting away with this.
Welcome to the Harry Potter cast. We should have a sound effect. It's like,
Jesus Christ. I'm going to edit in Harry Potter sounds. I won't, but I could.
Walter White's on the table. Jesse Pinkman's on the table.
They're not Warner Brother characters, but if Saul Goodman becomes a playable character one day, like, people are trying to meme it into existence, and I think we can, y'all. Like, Walt can get in, and Saul's next, and we had Jesse and Hank, and we're good.
Godzilla's in there. Apparently, data mined.
Right, I don't trust those leaks, by the way. They're kind of sus. Like, Ted Lasso is such a wild pick to me.
Yeah.
I mean, like, what is he gonna do? Like, depress himself by being overly cheery?
We
like,
already told you he's gonna be like Duck Hunt, where he just throws out player attacks, and they'll all the players show up.
No, here's the thing, and this is why Smash Brothers can't do it either. Like, summoners and platform fighters will get very messy when there's 4 summoners on the field, and they're all their attacks focus on summoning other people. There's a reason why they don't design characters like that in these kinds of games. Which is ironic because the player I play is the one character that can summon something, which is Steven Universe, can summon Watermelon Steven. And it's kind of wild. That's a fun pick. I've been playing... So the characters I play are Stephen Garnet, of course, and then Batman, and I'm trying to unlock Tom and Jerry. Who are y'all playing before I go on?
So I've been having the most fun killing people with bugs.
Yeah.
I love baseball batting people off the top, and I also really like Wonder Woman. She can't kill very easily, but she's really fun in 2v2.
I've been playing a lot of bugs, like just rocketing people and going to Albuquerque. So.
Yeah, well,
actually, you know what?
That's how they can
add Walter White.
That's how they can introduce Wally. He comes out of Bug's hole.
Yeah. Back with the Albuquerque Doc.
I'm a long way from Albuquerque, says Walt. And then he throws methylamine, the little exploding crystal, and then, he can
summon the van, and then he rides it.
That'd be pretty hot. I think Tyler played a little bit with me, but it was kind of a... And I don't think he understood the game because it was kind of let's play for funsies kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I played Velma. I haven't downloaded it. I just
let's play it tonight. Come on.
I gotta do some other stuff tonight.
Actually, I need to unite tonight because Buzzwole came out and that's my fucking boy.
Yeah. So you had a really good lot of points that you wrote up about the game and why you don't like it or things you don't like about it. I'll say from the get-go, playing it, what would you play, like an hour, maybe an hour and a half?
Probably like 40 minutes, less than, yeah.
So I'm not really a fan of it from that alone. I didn't go through the tutorial or anything. There is just I don't know if it's my vision getting worse. I experienced that some this week.
What happened though, Tyler? You're gonna say it was messy, right? And you couldn't keep track of anything. It's visual clutter.
Yeah.
I agree, but when you're playing online, which is where most people are gonna play it, there's a very clear outline on your character that's distinct from every other character.
Yeah.
That helps considerably. Like, for example, I'm on Team Blue, but my character has a green outline and everyone else is red. So there's a very clear distinction on what's going on.
It felt like I was playing Super Smash Brothers with all items on high, but there was no items. That's how much visual clutter I felt like I was having.
Yeah.
Also, hitting people doesn't feel satisfying at all. Like
some hits do. Yeah, it's weird.
Yeah.
I didn't like hitting, like I couldn't understand if I was actually hitting anybody or not.
There's not enough hit stop to the hits.
Yeah, like if I was hitting anybody, it felt like everybody had super armor and we could just keep smacking each other.
Yes, okay.
Like Rock'em Sock'em Robots, and it was just like, oh, you just keep doing this until somebody dies. And
my two main criticisms with the game, one's the physics and the dodging system is a little too loose. You're moving like crazy. And when you look, like, the game is fun until you fight a high level player. Like, you go watch Void stream this game, and it looks awful. It genuinely, like, just people doing attacks, canceling into dodges. No one looks unsafe. It just feels like you're dodging into each other until they walk into your hitbox. Like, it feels very unprecise and unintentional. And a part of that is because I think the hitboxes in this game are fucking butt cheeks, dude. Like, and the hit priority where it's like, why did my move beat that move this time, but then didn't beat the move the next time? It feels completely random sometimes.
Why is it when I attack Shaggy from above and he's doing his kick, I still get hit even though I'm out of the line of his kick?
Dude,
kind of thing.
You know what? Wonder Woman's like neutral charge attack. I saw people online complaining about it because they're like, even if someone's standing right in front of you not moving and the sword passes through them, it's like a 50-50 whether it'll hit or not. But it'll hit every single time if you do an up tilt right before. But even so, it's like, it looks like the sword just passes right through people sometimes.
It's weird. And like, Finn's backpack beats every move in the game. Characters like Steven have very little priority. Like, you're just getting beat out. Shaggy has too much priority. Taz had a broken-ass move that, thank God, y'all don't have to deal with in the same state. It's still strong, but he's definitely, like, low tier now.
I played with it for a while. That thing was fucking busted.
It's stupid. It's like, it was Meta Knight's Tornado and Brawl, but on crack. Which is saying something, man, because the Tornado was fucked up. So, yeah, like, the hit priority, which is, like, the number one, like, what's nice, though, is that other people complain about it. It's the number one complaint I see. So, I think they can iron it out over time. I think in 6 months to a year, this game is going to feel significantly better.
Because it's still open beta, right?
Yeah, I mean, you know, it's one of those things where it's an open beta, but they're soft releasing it.
What's an open beta nowadays?
Yeah. Especially with a free-to-play game, you know. Now, let's talk about some positives. The free-to-play structure of this game is working super well. It had the most players consecutively in a fighting game ever, as far as, like, on Steam. Yeah. But also, most of the players are on the two consoles, so it smashed the records easily. And that's great, because the free-to-play gets people in the door. It's actually really hard to get people to buy a fighting game because they know they're going to get their ass beat online. This is a very easy come in. And I've been able to unlock 3 characters. If you play with your friends, you get 30% extra EXP and coins, so that adds up over time.
I think the unlock is
fair.
Fair. I think fair is the correct word. It's not like crazy fast, but like if you have to put it in good, like you could spend a day. Like, if you put enough, like, hour or two in, you can definitely unlock a new character by the time you finish.
Yeah, you can grind out a character in a day or two if you're super into it. Thankfully, you get coins for every match.
Yeah. Assuming it's not, like, Iron Giant, who's, like, 3,000. If it's, like, a character.
Two of the 4 characters I bought are 3,000s because it depends on the difficulty. So, Steven and Tom and Jerry are both 3K, so I'm like, well, lucky me. I will say, maybe I don't mind the unlock system because I don't want anyone else after Tom. Like, no one else. Maybe Velma I'll pick up, but that's about it. The roster is cute and fun, and I love how random it is, but also it doesn't strike me, and I'm sure, like, our friends would completely disagree because they're more into these TV shows than any of the Nintendo characters in a Smash game, but, like, I'm way invested in more Smash characters, and I want to... And since they're all unlockable, I'll play them all in, like, the single-player modes. But, like, looking at the leak roster, there wasn't a character that I want to buy after this.
Yeah.
Maybe Ben 10, I guess? I don't know. Not even, to be honest.
Even this initial lineup, I just didn't have a strong connection to anybody really. Like no one stuck out to me. It's like, oh, I really want to play that character.
Like,
I all thought they were neat.
I would maybe have not picked up this game and advertised it to everyone if it didn't have Steven Universe characters, because I was like, that's crazy. Like,
that is crazy.
Love the show, and I get to beat people. And like on my first night playing it, I remember like before like even Trevor had picked it up, I was like, y'all, like Steven is consoling Batman after beating him, and it's giving me life. It's hilarious. It's great. It's great fan service. I'm trying to pull up that leaked roster here.
I think it's in Electronic Games if you look in there.
I found it. So, like, it's got, like, Animaniacs. Maybe some people would like that. And Daffy's cool.
I like Animaniacs. Also, I think Daffy is going to be a lot higher than, like, that list we were talking about the other night. Because the person who's animating Daffy is already posting stuff on Twitter.
Someone told me that was not real.
Oh, interesting.
Some other hot picks is the Wicked Witch of the West, bro, and
fucking Wicked Witch of the West.
11, Rick and Morty for those Rick and Morty, and 3 Game of Thrones characters.
That one's Rick and Morty are confirmed because they are already on like the official website.
Yeah, no, those are for sure coming, and they're separate.
I'm definitely gonna get like Morty as soon as he comes out.
Powerpuff Girls is my favorite of the leak roster.
That would be badass.
That's pretty hot. And Samurai Jack is gonna be cool. If Ted Lasso comes out, I'll pick him up, but that's like 3. So here's a problem I think I'm going to have with this game. They're going to be hitting such a wide net that it's going to be a long time before I get super excited about a release again. And maybe that's just me. Like, I think Static Shock and Raven are going to get a lot of people excited. Yeah. But I don't know. I'm trying to, like, to wrap up this talk, because we talked about our positives, our negatives. Oh, I didn't mention the 2v2 mechanics are fantastic. They hard carry the game. They're super fun. And the characters' movesets feed into that a lot. Which I think Bradley also echoed when I was talking to him. He was like, yeah, the 2v2 mechanics are great.
Oh, dude, like, and some of the movesets are just really cool. Like, the fact that half of Tom and Jerry's moves are Tom trying to kill Jerry and accidentally hitting opponents instead.
I think so cool. Tom and Jerry's by far the peak of the movesets. I don't think any other moveset quite lives up to him, but I think Bug's portal teleportation is up there.
That's badass.
Bugs is great.
I was losing my mind with Tom and Jerry where you could shoot the corks and stuff.
Yeah. Bradley, did you know for Bugs' hole, he can send all of his stuff down there?
Like his rockets and stuff?
Oh,
so, like, you can put
anything.
You can dig a hole, put the safe on the hole, and it will go through the hole like a portal.
Oh my god, I did not know that.
And the rockets do the same thing. So
that's badass.
Yeah, you can do big brain. So I think Bugs and Tom and Jerry are far above, and then Velma's got a nice me moveset. The thing is, it's not like, here's another thing, they're gonna hit such a wide branch that like some of these characters are not gonna have enough moves to like really make a distinctive character. Like when Ted Lasso's up attack is a weird kick, it's like, that's not really Ted, you know? Like, I think they did a good job with Velma, but I think they're gonna have to keep stretching it in the future. For example, like who in the roster right now kind of has like a pretty basic. I think Wonder Woman has a pretty basic moveset.
That's about as basic as it gets. Because even LeBron, who's a real ass human, has a more
he at least has defense. You know, Arya has 2 things that are actually representative of her in the show. She can steal someone's face like Kirby, and she can make a meat pie, which is a reference to when she cooked a dude's family into a pie and fed it to him. So like. 2 out of, 12 to 16 moves are representative of the character, and I feel like that's going to happen with, like...
I feel like there's only 8 moves in the game.
I don't know, like, Legolas is just going to have generic attacks. Like, I don't know.
I can already see Legolas being fucking annoying to everybody. Like, I can already see that happening.
Emmett's going to be cool, actually, if he actually makes it. Again, take all this with a grain of salt. None of this is probably happening.
All right.
But we'll see. On to the last topic, folks. We actually, despite having a stacked-ass schedule, we did not go quite as long as I expected, which is nice. But the last topic is Severance, which is the most exciting topic.
Yeah, it is. Man, what a show. I was so sad when I finished the season.
I think we all watched it, right?
Yeah.
Nice. Yeah. Rare that one of my suggestions comes through, but I did use my once a year special boy card.
You still got me because I was planning on it was on my to watch list anyway.
Nice.
And I was just like, all right, well, let's watch it. We're gonna talk about the podcast, so I should watch
true.
it.
That was more of it. I was like, okay, well, I guess I need to watch it now.
Light a fire up ass.
I think I was the only person who has Apple TV other than Willer now, I guess.
We find.
Oh yeah, you know.
Life finds a way. Google.
Weird how it'd be like that.
Severance is great. It's horrifying too. Like
God.
that show has like a weird tension and horror that is hard to describe. But
dude, it was the way I was thinking about it. It's like if you took like a Black Mirror episode of the highest quality and then made it into a full season.
Yeah, that's a great point.
Mm-hmm. I'm kind of worried because like this show conceptually is it feels good because it's so small, right? Like I don't want it to be global Severance kind of a thing. Like I want them to focus on just this one company with this one spot, and then once these characters are done, like end it.
But they've already set the seeds to maybe go more global, so
yeah,
you might be right. But I mean, we'll see where it goes, right? So like, what's y'all's takes? Like, we could do a lot of theory crafting here. Welcome to One Piece.
Sorry, I brain farted. Did you talk about the premise of the show?
No. Which is the best part, right? So the premise of the show is that there's a surgery you can take in this world that it feels a little more futuristic than us. I feel like it's a near future kind of world where you can separate a side of your brain, that side of the brain goes to work and then shuts off, and your other like personality takes over and then does the rest of your day. So you basically go to bed, you wake up, you drive to work, and then next thing you know, you're out of work. However, there is no overlap between those personalities. Or is there? That's a theme of this show that we might talk about a little bit. But the basic thing is that, like, you're born into this world for the other side, for the people inside the Severance company, are born into this world where their entire existence is work. And their work is banal and mysterious, and we can maybe theorize on what they're actually working on, if anything. I don't know. But the point is that these people don't get a normal life. They are exclusively workers, and they have to kind of gaslight themselves into thinking that it's all okay, and that is where the horror comes in.
And that's really terrifying, because the thing is, these work versions of themselves, they don't have context for the way they're treated. When they go into the break room, obviously they know, hey, this doesn't make me feel good, but they don't know what the outside world is like. One of them thought the outside world might be annihilated. Yeah. So they can't know, like, oh, this company is like treating us like slaves and abusing us. As far as they know, this is normal.
Exactly. And the most fucked up part is that the person outside just reaps all the benefits and then just kind of like accepts it. They just forget about it. They just like they don't really care. Eventually, every once in a while, they'll come home from work and have like a bruise or something, or they'll have a little gift card that they got for performing well. It's like neat, and like just the lack of like. Really, Severance ends up being as a way for a lot of these characters to escape from reality, especially the main character, who's played by Adam Scott. Severance is his way of not having to go to work when he's mourning his ex-wife's death. And, like...
His wife's death. They didn't divorce.
They didn't divorce. I mean, he's dating now, so whatever.
Yeah.
She's gone, or is she? But, by the way, I'm going to talk about spoilers, so you have the premise. It's an excellent show. We all liked it, which is rare for a show, so you should go watch it. That is my takeaway. But, yeah, the fact that, like, just, would you do Severance? Like, I don't know. Like, say you didn't watch the show and it was a surgery. It almost seems tempting, but the moral quandaries are really fucked up, and the show touches on them. There's political debates done about Severance.
I would. I'd say fuck that shit.
I think, like, I wouldn't do it, but if I was going to do it, the caveat would have to be, like, if I get a resignation request, I have to take it no matter what, because, like, you know, I don't know what's going on in there. So if they're telling me they want out, you got to do it.
Yeah.
Which then you have to believe that the company is really doing it. You know, like that they're actually sending the resignation request, which Okay, so that brings us to the driving force of the plot, which is the character of Helly, who is an innie, who are the people who are inside, who absolutely hates her life. She tries to commit suicide. She does everything in her power to get out of this. When she pops her head, or like when she like steps out of the like into the stairwell and switches to herself, that's when like the horror of the show really clicked to me for the first time, where her person is just super okay with going back in, even though like her inner self is clearly having a crisis and running away. She's like, oh, it's fine, this is normal, just step back in.
Yeah, that's insane.
You're like, why is she doing this? What is the benefit?
It's like, oh, you don't see like that this is sus, and then you find out it's like she genuinely does not look as her other self as human, and that's just how some people look at this. Like, they are okay torturing themselves as long as they don't know about it. And they get into that also with the plot line of the lady who had 3 kids on her severed personality, and that's the only reason she uses that personality, is just to have when she's in labor. Which is insanity, but also is the exact use case that people would make for this. Like, rich people would make a severed personality that's only turned on for the worst moments in life, which is already...
No. It's not for giving birth. It's for the entirety of raising her kid.
Is it?
Yes. She does not want to raise her kid at all. She has an entirely separate personality for raising her kid.
Oh, I got the thing where it was just... No, that can't be, because why would she be carrying the child at the snowfield the next day? That was the other personality, because she didn't recognize the sister. So I think she just does the labor.
But no. Because then, in the last episode, she's talking about her alter forgetting stuff. Like, they forgot the diaper bag or some shit.
Maybe she does some on and off, then, with raising the kid.
I think so.
Like, she does the annoying stuff where it's like, oh, now you have to watch the baby, so I'm going to do the severed version.
Changing the diaper, pooping, all that stuff. Having to talk later down.
And because she's with the governor who is, like, pro-Severance, I bet they have, like, the switch at home to where they can just make the switch. Oh, dude. The more you think about it, the grosser the implications of this show are. But that's the fun. That's what makes it great.
It's very much like, I think, the most creative use of allegory of the cave, right? Like, it's like they are in this shell and they don't know what's going on outside of it, but like there's one character that's like, no, there's something else out there, we need to go find it, and it drives that force forward.
Yeah.
And then we introduced the PD reintegration, how like then it just fucks with your mind if you do come back together.
Yeah, so like, what do y'all so there's 2 very mysterious... So PD dies, and they deny integration the whole way through because they want to believe that it's completely irreversible, but that's not the case. In fact, Adam Scott wants to end, like, at the end of the season, and this is where, like, it gets interesting. As his innie is getting more fed up with his work life and stops gaslighting himself to say that this is okay, due to Helly's, like uprising, it kind of wakes him up to it. His outer world starts feeling more negatively about the company, like it manifests in that way. And then also, when Irving is seeing like goopy paint in his real life, it's like his outer world feeding into his inner world. So there is undoubtedly this emotional link between these 2 people, as it were, that I think is what we're going to explore for the next 2 or 3 seasons, however many there are.
I also really liked that in the irony of Adam Scott's outie is very tolerable of his brother-in-law, while his innie is kind of like almost sees him as like Jesus Christ.
It's so fucking fun, dude. They must have been cracking up when they were writing Rickon's books lines, because they're so funny.
But they also read like religious texts, like
they do, but like in such a pretentious way where only someone who has no context of the world would fall for them. But there was like one really good one near the end where I was like, hey, you're kind of spitting right now.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
and then
Dylan also is like really into it too.
Oh, they all start reading the book, and it's great. Yeah. Which is like, why was Milchick reading? Like, can we talk about Milchick for a second, because that is a horror villain. Milchek is horrifying to me.
Oh my god, he reminds me of the manager from the episode of SpongeBob. Whenever they turn the restaurant into a Bennigan's.
That's perfect. That's like a perfect comparison.
I'll have to take your word for it.
I have no idea what this is. I've seen SpongeBob. I don't know.
Haha, you're like me now, fool.
Yeah.
Milchek's actor is killing it. There's like, he described his acting process as like, Milchek is a character that has like a burning core inside of him, like this burning energy, but he's stoic and composed on the outside. And you can tell by the way he moves. Like, he did a bunch of aerobic exercises, and he seems someone who's like really fit and energetic, but like also soulless. It is so bizarre. And like his dance parties, just the way he's micromanaging anyone. And then of course the boss lady's also insane.
Yeah.
There's this weird company worship. There's so much capitalism, like satire and criticisms in this show, and like I think the whole concept is built around like some of this.
For a long time, my working theory was that the guy that made the company does not actually exist, and it's a newer company. And they made up all that bullshit about his like lineage and stuff like that to like.
But they do show the lineage later on, so there's something. to it.
Yeah, so it's like, what the fuck,
y'all want to?
Are we having the same thought? Do we want to talk about that scene with Dylan in the room?
The waffle party?
Yeah!
I was going to bring up.
What the fuck, dude? I think he's...
Not only what the fuck, Dylan has gone several times to the waffle party.
It's his jam. Adam Scott gave it to him because it's his thing. I'm like,
yeah.
So I think you're supposed to flaggerate, whatever the word is for when you whip yourself with the nine tails. You're supposed to watch them dance and whip yourself, and I'm like, oh, this is so fucked up.
Yeah, wild. It's but that's all the pleasure that they get. That's the only thing to them that means they did good. So,
yeah, it's like they're conditioned to be like, oh, this is good. This is sexual. Is this what sex is?
Yeah. God, what else is there? Oh, the reason why Milchek was reading the book, Willer, is that Mrs. Selvig, Kopel, told him to check the book to make sure there wasn't any hidden messages in there, for whatever reason.
Huh? Wow.
Yeah.
Because she's suspecting that Adam's reintegrating.
So maybe she lives across the street from him.
Yeah. Which oh my god, the stuff with the baby was not good. No, sir. So what do y'all think they're doing at the company? Well, let's talk theories.
So my theory is they aren't doing shit.
That's my theory too.
And it's where people get sent when they need to be reintegrated into society, and it's an alternate insane asylum.
I don't know if y'all picked up on this, but Irving was a ex-military man.
Yeah.
And he's the oldest member, and he had conveniently a map with his own house circled. So you could be able to find other people. He was looking into the company. He had a bunch of things. He's been there before. This is his second tour of being Severanced. And I think he had a memory of the room that Gemma / Mrs. What's his wife's name that she goes by, the therapist.
Therapist, yeah.
The therapist went into the same room that Irv was having visions about, so he's been there before.
The training room.
Yeah, the rearrangement or whatever.
Yeah.
I think maybe that feeds into it, but then Dylan seems to have a pretty normal life. Also, y'all need to stop this Dylan propaganda agenda. I don't look like Dylan. Maybe a little.
You watch the show, Willer is literally Dylan. Willer would be about pancake parties and Chinese finger traps.
What makes you think I'm about Chinese finger traps? I hate knickknacks.
If you were an innie, you would only care about knickknacks, and then you would talk about the conspiracy theories that the world outside is blown up.
I can't deny that, but who among us wouldn't? Okay, y'all think every chubby guy with glasses and curly hair is me?
No, this guy looks like Willer.
This guy is Willer.
Yeah.
This is so cap.
I hate to break it to you.
No.
I hate for you to find out like this.
You're all so funny with your own Discord chat where you talk about gaslighting me.
I really like Severance. I'm excited to see what season 2 is, but I don't want to go for very long.
This is an excellent 3-season show.
I was about to say 3 seasons.
3 seasons.
Give me 3.
Give me 3.
Give me 3.
Have 7 and you'll love all of them.
I also want to call out the opening to the show.
It's so fire.
It's so good. It's mesmerizing.
It creeped me out the first time I saw it, the way it's animated, but it looks really cool.
I watched it every single, not a skip in me.
Yeah, same. And like the fact that like there's like Adam Scott's characters that like are all happy, and then there's the one that's like messed up. The scene where he goes into the head and starts typing, and the body starts typing.
Oh yeah, so good. Who's y'all's favorite character for the show? Because I walked out as a Helly fan. Like, she carries the... She doesn't care. Every actor is fucking killing it, by the way. The fact that Steve Buscemi and... not Steve Buscemi. Christopher Walken and... What's his name? Irving character were able to make this weird, cute romance between two 60-year-old men. I was like, and Dylan and Adam Scott character is very understated, but Helly... It steals the show for me. She is so good.
I was really impressed with Christopher Walken's performance because he gets memed to death. You know,
he does, yeah.
And so, like the fact that like I could watch him, and while I was watching him, I wasn't thinking about the memes at all. I was just like, oh, this guy is acting. He is this character.
Unlike when we're watching Better Call Saul, Joe, and literally Jerry from Parks and Rec shows up, and he's literally just Jerry, and Joe would not stop talking about it because it was so Jerry.
It was so funny. It was 100% on purpose.
It's so funny. But yeah, like Christopher Walken gets lost in the role. I think like just Helly's defiance, the show really needed it. I think the actress does a fantastic job. She's got like the way she slowly forms a friendship with Adam, despite like by all accounts she should not be friends with these people, and I would not have faulted her for always hating them. But the fact that they make a found family anyways is super cute.
Yeah.
Who y'all liking?
I really like Adam Scott's character. I really liked I kind of liked over the course of the season he's struggling with this idea that it might be really hard for him to accept that he may have made the wrong decision by getting severed because, you know, anytime someone broaches that subject to him, he doesn't just argue his position, he kind of panics.
Yeah.
Like, he gets really angry when people talk about how severance might not be a good thing. And, you know, he obviously would have gone out on a huge limb doing this just to avoid grieving his wife. But, I don't know. I think that's a really cool struggle he goes through.
Yeah, I thought he was like the most understated character, but I think he's a very good protagonist for this story. I'm very curious to find out why Irv and Dylan severed then, because and also like my theory is that they're doing nothing, but the point is they're trying to create humans that are raised in that severed environment and then become a full-time outie like Milchick. Like they're trying to make people like Milchick and the boss lady whose name
like people whose life is
work. They're trying to create the perfect capitalist workers through this kind of experiment. That would be my theory.
I feel like also like what they're doing on their floor is testing the severance packages and chips, because you go and you see a whole bunch of different like studios. Like you have the MDR department who's just doing meaningless like copy and paste work.
Yeah. That's
like very much just like it's very analytical. But then you have the observation department that's very artistic and very like art-ish, like very much more creative. And then you have the weird goat guy who's taking care of goats.
Whatever that's about.
So here's what that's about.
Oh shit.
In real life, before trials of cloning for humans, what did they try it on? Goats and sheep.
Shit.
So it's like, oh, you know, if they want to go the whole route of creating an army of loyal workers, you know, it's probably a lot more convenient to be able to grow someone that the outside world knows nothing about than to get a woman pregnant and try to raise that baby as the perfect worker. Because the thing is, like, I don't know, do you even fucking need severance if someone just like was born in the company
You
and
just have
never
to pay
leaves
for
it?
your work, baby, and then you reap in the money they make for you.
Yeah, which
Man.
is like, the thing is, this is a company with a lot of eyes on it, which is why, like, any plot thread that
Yeah.
has to deal with heavy conspiracy, they're gonna have to
True.
write that very well.
Also-
Also, I think this is actually an immortality thing as well.
Yeah.
Because I don't think the boards of directors are real people. They are personalities of the previous founders who are just kind of severed ghosts. At least that would be another way to do it, where that's less conspiracy because it doesn't breach human rights, but their cult-like worship of immortal people is actually pretty online with how these things would work in the real life, where these people discovered a method to gain immortality by creating like a separate personality that they can then extract somehow with the chip.
Mm-hmm.
We're getting sci-fi, boys.
Yeah.
Tyler, who's your favorite?
You know who really turned it around is I really like Dylan.
Dylan's very funny. He has the best like comedic lines, and also but also when he's like fighting back against Milchick, that was really good.
I like Dylan and Irving. We get they're really nice side characters that I'm just really enjoying their story.
I like how they had that opposed position with the observation where like Dylan is very like paranoid about them while Irving's a lot more open towards them, and that dynamic and like how fucked up that is.
The group dynamic is excellent. I think the personality the personality of the main fours works really well, and you can buy their friendship. They're like when you work with people, like you just grow those friendships. I mean, hey, look, sometimes you make a podcast about it.
Hey.
And yeah.
So next season, they have to talk about how like Helly R was definitely in the hospital in their Audi form, and like how that might have been a PR nightmare for her, right?
Yeah, they'll have to figure that out. You know, like the last thing I wanted to make sure we bring up is the fact that the finale could have done the awful thing where none of the characters accomplish anything.
Yeah.
But
the finale hurts so much.
But instead, everyone got at least one good hit in. You know, like they got some punches in. It would have been.
Wait, we didn't get to see Irving's punch though.
But if Irving's Audi is working to expose the company, the fact that he's in Bert's home it's gonna lead to something. Helly got the PR out, and most importantly, God, what is the main character's name? It's not Adam, is it?
Ben Wyatt.
No, whoa. Mark got, like, when Mark got the words "she's alive" out, I fucking cheered. It felt so good. And you know what's great? They could have also played the annoying, like, sister doesn't believe it. Like, stop playing a joke on me. The relationship with the sister, both with the Innie and Audi, was excellent. I really like their dynamic. So she's gonna believe it. She's just gonna know, because she's, like, a good person who is intelligent.
Yeah. And then we got Rickon, who is my kind of favorite like laugh at character of the show. He's so funny, like just so absurd.
Who's Rickon?
Rickon is the brother-in-law.
Yes. I thought, Rickon's hilarious. I want to know what the sister sees in Rickon.
Yeah, same.
But you know what? They could have also played Rickon. Like, they did so many things right in that finale where they could have had Rickon make fun of Mark or, like, be like, what are you talking about, dude? But then he was just supportive for Mark when he's like, when Innie Mark is telling Rickon that he enjoys the book. Like, I was like, cool, there's some humanity in these characters. They're not just, like, paper thin, like, either good character or bad character.
Except for that one friend of theirs, the black guy who who was just up their ass.
Does not understand social cues, that guy.
Yeah.
I saved the baby. I found it. I'm the one who found the baby. It was me. What an asshole.
Yeah, no.
Alrighty. Well, folks, we did the gimmick that we do at the end of the podcast at the beginning. So, without further
Thanks
ado,
for joining.
I release you. Fun one. Good talks.
Bye.
Bye. It was as sexy as I promised.